Right, everything should be working as intended. Good afternoon, evening, ladies, gentlemen, and xenos of all ages, and welcome to another Tactica Imperialis live stream. Starting a little early, as I said in my announcement video, so we're going to be doing the Idoneth Deepkin Battletome review. It's in the stream title, it's kind of obvious what we're doing. So, that's the plan. I want to go over the units in there, I want to go over the enclaves, the battalions, the points cost, because we had some discussion about points costs on a previous stream when we looked at some war scrolls, and I want to just do all of that. And of course we'll be discussing lore. I'll be taking lore questions as we go, maybe some things about colour schemes, and hopefully, maybe at some point we'll even pick the factions of Idoneth that we most enjoy. That's the basic plan. So if you want me to just go unit by unit, we'll do it that way. If you have particular questions, what I would ask is, because the version of the Battletome I own is in French, quite obviously because I'm out in France at the moment. If someone has a copy of the Idoneth Battletome in English and can correct, or in their own native language, and can correct any errors I make, please do, because there's a couple of things that, like, I think I know what that means, but would you mind awfully, if you've got the Battletome, correcting me if I stuff it up? So that's all I'm going to ask, but yes, it's going to be good. Okay, we've got people arriving, excellent, glad to see you all could make it, glad to see the announcement video got people noticed. Which is good. Everything's running relatively well. Did the whole reboot the Wi-Fi. Alliance of the Wooden Sea. Yeah, that's actually something that I'm kind of considering. It's kind of a fun little one. We'll discuss the battalions as we go, unless you're, because it's kind of not as easy to start discussing those without discussing the actual units. Right, sure. Sure, one job at a time. The main job being the exams that are in 2 weeks. So, priorities. I know there's going to be people who do have questions and ideas. I spoke to people on Twitter when I announced the stream who were saying they've got ideas and things. So this should be pretty interesting. So how do you want me to run this? Do you want me to just go unit by unit, then go through battalions, go through enclaves? Or do you just want to, like, throw questions at, like, how does this unit look? What does this unit do? What does this cost? What does that cost? What do the enclave rules look like? What are the paint schemes? What's the lore? Or specific lore questions. Just basically, I'm happy to do this however you want to do it. But my sort of plan is I want to get through all the units and the rules during this stream. That's the basic plan. How does the shipwreck work? Is 0 points? Let me check its war scroll a second and see if that makes things any clearer. So it's a piece of terrain, basically. Okay, lots of rules and abilities of Idoneth models represent disturbing effects of the Ether Sea. As well as these rules, armies with the Idoneth Deepkin legions have access to the etheric vortex terrain pieces, which can be placed on the battlefield, such as is explained below. A etheric vortex terrain piece will still have always a war scroll. The one of the Gloomtide shipwreck on the right is an example of a vortex etheric war scroll. Once all other terrain elements have been placed, but before players choose territory and deploy their armies, you can place up to 2 pieces of etheric vortex terrain, no matter where on the battlefield, more than 1 inch from all other terrain pieces. If both players can place etheric vortex elements, each player rolls off and re-rolls in case of a tie. The winner chooses in what order they are placed. So basically, it's a piece of terrain that's put down after everything else. Thoughts on the big FAQ? I've got a video coming out on the big FAQ tomorrow. Generally, good intentions, not sure if it'll all be kept going forward. Scar stick on a submarine. How about that Slanesh breaking out lore? Yeah, that. That was something that I didn't expect to read in here. Because Morathi is... well, she's even worse than I thought. Like, I knew Morathi was bad, but dear God, Morathi's terrible. So let me just find that. Morathi. Because of the machinations of Morathi, the trap which imprisons the god of excess for so long starts to show signs of weakness. Feeling the presence of their master, the armies of Slaanesh double their efforts, and the Idoneth are terrified. Eonrak calls for an assembly as urgently as possible, and presses its like contemporaries, I don't know, to ally with the Stormcast Eternals and the Order Coalition. It's not the presence of a common enemy which pushes several enclaves to accept this, but more the fact that their underwater fortresses are no longer inviolable, I suppose, impenetrable. Units questions, battalions questions. Lore that took your interest. Okay, I'll do a couple of lore highlights because I'm just in the lore section right now. Morathi tricked Volturnos into a meeting with the Mask. So, hoping to put an end to hostilities between the Idoneth and Daughters of Cain, the High King Volturnos accepts a meeting with Morathi. He sincerely desires to make peace, but he's duped by Morathi and finds himself instead not with the High Oracle of Cain, but with the Mask. Volturnos loses an eye during this combat, but is able to escape. Morathi set Volturnos up to meet the Mask. How, why, we don't know. But dear God. Oh, that's a bad pun. I appreciate the effort there, well played, but shove off. Shove off and fall into a warp portal. Let's see, is there anything else in here that really caught me the first time? Well, he's not technically wrong. They're not soul drinkers, they're soul stealers, technically. Is there anything else in here? There was the Idoneth Civil War between Domhain and Ionrak, which happened, which was kind of bad. Yeah, there's just a few interesting things. Ship just out of the Wildwoods and the Narmor. Players will take turns, set them up if both have them. Yeah, it's basically like that. They've given them the word etheric vortex. So I don't know if that's going to be applied. It's not a keyword, it's just a word. Afternoon? Well, it's nearly evening for me. It's 6 o'clock. Or close enough. Is there anything else in here? Because I was reading this in French, some of the things that I would normally catch from the English version, I kind of missed because I was trying just to read it. It takes a bit more time for me to do, but that was interesting. And the reason they went underwater is because it's the safest, it's the furthest place away to hide from what Teclis exposed them to. They're less haunted by it under the sea. So the magic that Teclis had given to them, where was it? There was something about the reason they went undersea, not just because of Matlan, but there was a secondary reason. Yes, fearing for their lives, they spread across the mortal realms and found refuge in the abyss because the sea had always called to them. Teclis would have without doubt destroyed his imperfect creations, but because of their heritage. However, Tyrion basically stopped him. There was another there's more in here. Like I say, there are things I can't quite translate, or that it'd take me too long to translate at a glance. I can't recall it all. You haven't really missed anything yet. We just discussed the new terrain and a couple of lore highlights. Nothing much at the moment, but I'm ready to dive into the units, basically in whatever order people want to do it, because we've seen the rules for some things. Yeah, hiding from Teclis in many elements, yeah. But yes, I'm happy to do it because we've seen wall scrolls for the Eidolon, we've seen wall scrolls for the Marti Thralls. Yeah, Tyrion saved them. That's how it came across to me, was that Tyrion saved them. Yeah, we've seen the Thralls, we've seen Lotan, we've seen the Eidolon, the wall scrolls for Volturnos, the Reavers, and the Achillean King were also published. Right, not today. I'm just not having it today. I'm not having it today. I'm not having crap in my chat today. I'm just not. Sorry, I'm just not in the mood for people being crappy in my chat. This is a stream that I want to get right, and I know that people are going to want to watch, so I'm not having it. Or I will just take the chat off the screen and read it for myself. If it's that bad, I'll just take it down. But that's okay. So let's do what we're going to do. So let's dive in, shall we? I would start by doing the enclaves and things, but that's not really going to help because a lot of them are based around certain units. Got coursework to do. Yeah, I sort of sympathise. Volturnos is a badass. I'll give you that. Volturnos is a badass. His rules are... the Achillean King's an interesting one because they're actually really quite flimsy. Is Slanesh making a comeback? I think they won't free Slanesh. I don't think they're going to do that so soon, but they might. They might do that. We'll see. Okay, where are we? So yeah, basically, where do you want me to start, guys? Like, I don't mind really wherever you... Oh. Okay. If something just went wrong there, I apologise. I had a glitch on my head. So yeah, I can start wherever. If you want me to start at the top and work through, if you want me to go unit by unit, whatever. Just, if you want me to start somewhere, let me know. Because as I say, we've seen some of this stuff on stream before. Yeah, not sure. I know I should be in a bit more control of what I wanted to do here, but I kind of want to go with what the chat wants. 200, is that what he costs? Yeah, 280. Alright, let's do Volturnos then. Let's do Volturnos since we've just mentioned him. So Volturnos has a 14-inch move, 8 wounds, a 3-up save, bravery 8. He can fly. And for his weapons, and he's not a monster. Despite the size of the Deep Mare, he's not a monster. Okay, we'll do that then. So he's got Order, Elf, Idoneth, Achillean, Hero, King, and Volturnos as his keywords, but he's not got the monster keyword. I just want to make that clear now. In fact, the only monsters in the book are the Alopex and the Leviathan, so the shark and the Doom Turtle. So, the Astra Solus is his primary weapon. That's his sword, given to him by Teclis. So, 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage D3, and if you roll a 6 to hit, he has a rend of 5 instead of a rend of 1. So, if you do well with your hit rolls, he will absolutely massacre something with damage D3 and a rend of 5. Let me just have a look at the relics to see if I can get you any extra rend on this guy. Give me a moment. That's the spells, that's Isharan, that's Mystic. That's all the heroes. No. Achillean, no. That's once per turn, you can get him +1 to hit. Is there any others that get +1? That's rerolls of 1s to hit. Okay, not so much. No, there's not much for buffing hit rolls to go along with that. About the aura ability. Which aura ability? You mean his... which one? The first among Achilleans command ability? Or ability that he's got, you mean? So, right. Can't say ability is a named character. Oh, yeah. Duh. Sorry, being dumb. So, yeah, as I said, 5 attacks, 3s, 3s, rend 1, damage D3 with a rend of 5 on a 6 to hit. His Deep Mare has 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 1, and 3 attacks, 3s, 3s, no rend, damage 2. And he costs 280. He's also got a few extra abilities, so all Idoneth Deepkin units entirely within 18 inches of him get +1 bravery. His shield means that he cancels out spells on a 3+ that affect him. So other units, if it's a, like say, an aura ability spell, he's not affected on a 3+, but everybody else is. He rerolls 1s to hit for all Achilleans within 18 inches. Yeah, that one. So first among Achilleans, which means that you reroll 1s to hit for all Achillean units entirely within 18, which is the Eel Cavalry, the Shark Cavalry, and the Achillean Kings and the Doom Turtle. So basically anything that's not an Amati or an Isharan is an Achillean. His Deep Mare has a horn as well, and that means that if you launch a charge, you have, on a 2+ to hit, you do D3 mortal wounds. So when you launch a charge, you get within 1 inch or less of an enemy unit. On a 2+, the closest enemy unit takes D3 mortal wounds. So that's his abilities. His command ability is Supreme Lord of the Tides, which means that you can use his command ability if he's your general and if you're on a high tide turn. So this is a 1 turn only command ability. So on a high tide turn, you can give 3 Idoneth Deepkin units entirely within 18 inches of him, +1 attack to all of their melee weapons. So you could give him an extra attack, and then the turtle an extra attack, and I don't know, a bunch of cavalry an extra attack. This is actually really powerful, but it is one use only because you can only use it on a high tide turn. The only way to get a second high tide turn is to take the phalanx battalion, which you can take, which means you have to take all the other battalions a lot. So generally you won't be able to use it multiple times. It's a one use only ability, and you'll be using Inspiring Presence for the rest of the game. But he has got that command ability of, that bravery of 8 and the aura of +1 bravery on all the time. So generally, he's pretty powerful. His main downside is the 8 wounds. So if he goes up against a combat monster hero, he will die really, really fast. But he hits pretty hard. He's impossible to shoot because of the Forgotten Nightmares trait. He's also very hard to magic because of his shield, so he's going to be very hard to take out until he hits melee, but once he hits melee, if he can't get himself extricated, he will die quite quickly. That's something you need to bear in mind, and that will also apply to the Achillean King even more so. Any questions? Any questions? What does his shield do? Hello. No walks, I'm out. Sorry. So yeah, just let people catch up with that for a second. I'll take some questions. Any questions? Is that bad? It's one of the best battle lines in the game. No extra losses. Yeah, that's just something I should actually mention, that if you have an Achillean hero, the Ishleyan Guard and the Morsar Guard, the 2 Eel Cavalry, also become battle line if he is a general, because he is an Achillean hero. So if you take him or an Achillean King as your general, then you get the Eel Cavalry as battle line. Is that bad? Some of the best battle line in the game, no extra losers. Yeah, like, he is good. I just think his main weakness is going to be if he runs into a powerful combat hero, he can't go toe-to-toe with them. And I think that's something the Idoneth are actually going to sort of struggle with, is dealing with actual beat sticks, because they haven't got anybody, perhaps, well, maybe they have enough stuff powerful enough to deal with it, but if he doesn't get the first strike, on a high tide turn, so you really need to hit on a high tide turn with this guy, so you can go first and eliminate your target before it all goes to hell in a handbasket. What's different with the Achillean King? You have a bunch more weapon options. Yeah, it also makes Cav battle line. I forget sometimes how much lag there is between what I say and what the stream sees, so apologies for that. Yeah. So, yeah, is there anything else that I need to say on him, or do you want me to move on to the Achillean King, and then you can decide whether it's worth upgrading to Volturnos? Because the Achillean King is actually, it's a 40-point upgrade to Volturnos, so it might actually just be worth doing all the time. Has some good debuff bits in spells. We'll get to that as we go. We'll go units first, and then we'll have a look at the other bits as well for magic and stuff. But yes, they do have some good debuffs, like -1 to hit auras and such, and they have some good other stuff. Oh, the 4 Great Unclean One. Well, to be fair, that 4 Great Unclean One army is stupid as it is. The Storm is the hero beatstick. That's true. Like, Volturnos is much more of a leader. Like, he buffs a bunch of Achilleans. He buffs Idoneth bravery. He can also use his command ability to buff their attacks. He's not the beatstick. That's true. The Storm aspect of the Eidolon is the beatstick. But in some ways, I'd say that Volturnos' DPS is actually higher in some ways than the Eidolon. Because if the Eidolon isn't charging, then 4 attacks at damage 2 versus 5 attacks at damage D3. Okay, sure, he's got more attacks with the hook and the shoal, but Volturnos can nearly match the Eidolon on DPS on a non-charging turn. On a charging turn, I'll agree with you, the Lance gets +1 damage, it goes into flat damage 3 with 4 attacks, and he's rerolling once to wound and he's rerolling once to hit, so he will hit exceptionally hard. But on a non-charging turn, Volturnos can nearly have the same DPS as he does, which is something to consider. Is any unit team good at hunting big models? Well, you've got a few high damage units. So you've got the Eidolon, which can do 4 damage, 3 attacks. The other Eidolon's got D3 damage, 2 shooting attacks, and 3 damage, 2 melee attacks. Volturnos is alright at it, but not stellar. Same with the Achillean King. The Tidecaster, probably not. The Soul Scryer, no. The Soul Render, no, not so much. The Alopex is not bad for it, but it doesn't have loads of attacks, so probably not. Leviathan's obviously just a beat stick. It can do a lot of damage in one go. Namarti Thralls will actually be surprisingly useful against big stuff because they get damage too against high wound models. And I think the Morsar Guard, the Lance Cavalry, might be alright for it. But yeah, the Doom Turtle, the Leviathan, is definitely the heaviest hitter in the book by some stretch for big stuff anyway. So the Achillean King, let's just do the comparison. He's 14-inch move, 3-up save, bravery, but only 7 wounds, so you lose a wound. As for weapons, the Deep Mare is exactly the same, so 3 attacks, 3s, 3s, Ren 1, damage 1, and 3 attacks, 3s, 3s, no Ren, damage 2. You then have 2 primary weapon options. So you've either got a polearm, which is a lance, which is 3 attacks, 3s, 3s, Ren 2, damage D3. And if you have that weapon, then it becomes damage 3 on a charge turn. Or you have the Great Sword, which is 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage D3. So you gain an attack, but you lose a point of rend. You then also have a Falchion, which you can use as an option. So you get an extra 3 attacks, 3s, 4s, no rend, damage 1. But you lose -1 save if you do that. So you get down to a 4+ save instead of a 3+ save, because that's basically what you put your shield away to draw your Falchion, and thus you do more damage, but you are flimsier. So maybe it doesn't have the more secure to make it better in that role. Maybe. This was the Royal Court with Volturnos, an Achillean Core and 2,000 points. Core of 2 units of the Ishtar and 2 units of the Ishtar. You've got Ishlayan and Morsar. So Ishlayan are the swordsmen and Morsar are the lancers. But yeah, Royal Court and an Achillean Core makes sense. Like you've got, what's in there? 2 to 4 units, so you've got 2 and 2. 2 units Ishtar. I'm assuming you mean Ishlayan. And then 2 units of Alapexes, I'm guessing. I'm sort of guessing at what you're implying there. Is there anything I've missed? So, rerolls of hit rolls of 1s for Achilleans in 12. So you lose 6 inches off his aura of Achillean buffs. You also don't get the Idoneth Bravery buff, and your command ability still applies only on the high tide turn, and you can use 1 unit within 12 to get +1 attack instead of 3 units within 18 getting a +1 attack buff. And the ability to put away the shield for an extra weapon, why is it the first time seen? I know, it's a little bit odd, I've not seen it before either. But yeah, it's -1 save for 3 extra attack. I don't know how much it's worth it in most cases, because 8 wounds and a 4-up save, you are quite flimsy. I should mention finally that the difference between an Achillean King and Volturnos, as I mentioned earlier, is 40 points. So for 40 points, you gain a wound, a bravery aura, 6 inches on your reroll aura, 6 inches and 2 extra units on your command ability, though it's 1 use only, and your weapon basically gains an attack, and the ability, if you take this, compare them sword to sword, you gain an extra attack and the ability to gain extra rend on a 6 to hit. So Volturnos is a lot better than an Achillean King. A lot better. For the King, I think you just go Bladed Pole on Falchion and go charge. How I feel if you have 40 points, you upgrade. Yeah, there's like, if you've got 40 points to upgrade, especially compared to a swordsman, you just take it. Volturnos is just way better than a swordsman King. The Bladed Polearm King, which is 3 attacks, 2 rend, damage 3 on the charge, There's definitely benefits to that for going full face with that. You just get a load of high damage attacks, particularly if you can buff him. Like on High Tide, get +1 attack. You might take, what sort of relics can I give an Achillean hero? Take shield +1 scenery and get 2 plus the other weapon out. The scenery benefits don't apply in combat. Scenery benefits don't apply in combat, do they? There is a way to get +1 save using the Leviathan, which I'll get to in a bit. Actually, I should do the turtle soon. But the Doom Turtle does actually help with that. So only for +1 attack. Oh, the Abyssal Blade, which gives you an extra point of rend and +1 damage against Slanesh. Oh, that's fun. What else have we got? Their traits, but add 2 to your attacks on a High Tide round. Jesus, ow. How does a 1+ save work? According to Doom Turtle is the Leviathan, by the way. Sorry, some people don't speak the stream lingo. 1+ save is basically still 1's always fail, but it's it's harder to be reduced by rend. So by the rules of the General's Handbook, 1 always fails in match play, but it takes longer for your rend, for your save to be reduced by rend. So a rend of -1 is still a 2+ save. Do the leaders before the turtle. Alright, we'll get through the Isharan then. Because we covered the Eidolons on stream before. I'll go back and do the Eidolons if people want. Actually, I should point out, for the people who did the points estimating on stream, the aspect of the storm is 400 points, and the aspect of the sea is 440. So they're substantially more expensive than the estimates we were making on stream. Like 100 points more than we were estimating on stream. Just FYI. Who are the other heroes? Is it just the Isharan at this point? Yeah, it's just the Isharan at this point, because we did Lotan as well on stream. Yeah, we were way out. We were way out. But that's interesting, because how much is Lotan? Lotan is 100 points. We sort of had that number in our heads. And Namati Thralls are 140 for 10. So 70 points for 5. They're very, very cheap. Yeah. The problem is the power of the aspect of the storm. He is a proper beat stick that heals. And the aspect of the sea can do some ridiculous magic. So are they worth it? I think only time and playtesting will tell. First impressions is they'll have to work a lot to make their points up. But I think they can be worth it if they're built round correctly. There's a prayer that heals and buffs the Eidolons as well, which is something worth considering. There's a prayer for that. A ritual, I should say. So your other hero options, if you're on foot, are the Tidecaster, the Soul Scryer, and the Soul Render. I'm not going to do the Soul Warden here, just unless people want to. 140%, that seems ridiculous. 2 swords, 2 lances, 1 6-man, 1 turtle, 1 shot. Right. So 2 of each. Got you. Let me just get my Daughters of Cain Battletome, and I'll tell you how much Witch Elves cost. This is the slaughter cost. Hang on. Because if I remember correctly, Witch Elves were like, what, 100 for 10? Ow. Ow, I got pins and needles already. Those spam Doom Turtles. Got it. So Witch Elves were 100 for 10. Sisters of Slaughter were 120 for 10, and Idoneth Namati Thralls are 140 for 10, and Namati Reavers are 140 for 10 as well. Rules of 1% or 1+ always fails. It still fails at 1, but yes, I think rend is still affected by the 1+ save, so it's harder to be rended down. So they're basically 1.5 Witch Elves each, give or take. Most you play 2 Doom Turtles. I think you definitely want at least 1. I do think you'll want at least 1. Whether you'll want 2 or more, it'll be interesting to see, because they do have some really nice buffs. In an Achillean heavy army, I think you actually would want 2. But you definitely want 1. Dow, shot. So, the Isharan Tidecaster is 6 up save, 5 wounds, 6-inch move, bravery 7. 2 attacks, 3 up, 3 up, no rend, damage D3, standard wizard stats. The first wound allocated each turn is cancelled. Doesn't sound so bad, looks like Grey Knight Terminus. Yeah, Grey Knight's got kind of whacked in the FAQ. So the Tiecaster is the wizard girl with the shell staff. Yeah. So anyway, let's do the Tiecaster. So I'm giving you a stat. She costs 100 points. They all cost 100 points actually. So she ignores the first wound allocated every turn. And if this model is the general, you can choose at the start of the first battle round to inverse the Tides of Death table. So on turn 1, you will have low, reducing tide, then high tide, then rising tide, then low tide, and looping around in that order instead of going low tide, rising, high tide, retreating. So you basically do all your damage on turn 2 and you get a rush on turn 3 and then you get protection on turn 4 and then the ability to retreat again on turn 5. I don't think you should do that. I don't think it's the best ability, but in the right scenario it might have its uses. I generally don't think that's the best ability though. You've got for magic, you've got 1 spell per phase for both casting and dispelling. So you know Mystic Shield, Arcane Bolt, and what's called a something wave. So it's a casting value of 7. Pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches or less. Until your next hero phase, take away 1 from hit rolls for that unit, and at the start of your next hero phase, they take D3 mortal wounds. So it's basically the prayer, the Lightning Storm prayer of the Stormcast Lord Relictor, but the D3 mortal wounds are delayed until the next hero phase, but that's basically what it does. So if my ability does 12 mortal, it's the first, all of it is ignored, or one of it is ignored. The first wound allocated to this figure each turn is cancelled. The first wound. So I assume you take -1 wound. How does magic work? There's spells in the book, but I read that the Tactica needs the ones on the wall scroll. Yeah, I think if it's a wound that does multiple damage, that might get ignored. I think that needs to be FAQ'd. No, I haven't overshot. Let me just get your magic up, if I can. Where are they? Here's the magic. So each Idoneth Deepkin wizard from an army knows a additional spell chosen from the Lore of the Deeps. You can either choose this spell or launch at random on the table. Know that each wizard in Idoneth Deepkin army can know a different spell, or if you prefer, you can choose the spell randomly that all your wizards will know. You missed Volturnos, the Achillean King, and a little bit of lore. So, no, you don't have to pick over the wall scroll. You know effectively 4 spells if you have the Idoneth Deepkin Allegiance, 3 spells if you don't, but you can only cast 1 at a time. You need the Idoneth Allegiance ability to get access to these spells, but we'll go over them a bit later because I just want to keep going. So the Tiecaster is a decent caster. 1 spell, the wave ability, the nerf to hit rolls and delayed D3 mortal wounds is good. I don't like the idea of reversing the high tide table. I think that needs to go in the order it goes in, unless you actually want a proper face rush for turn 2. And she's a little bit more survivable than most wizards because of, well, 1, first wound ignored, and 2, forgotten nightmares, so she's going to be quite hard to put down. She doesn't have any healing though, so bear that in mind. The Soul Scryer is your priest character. So the Soul Scryer is 6-inch move, 5 wound, 6 up save, 7 bravery again. And he has got a massive shooting attack. Not quite, because they don't have mer features, they're just underwater elves, but I suppose. So the Scryfish Shoal is 8 attacks with an 18-inch range, 5s and 5s, no rend damage 1. And then in melee, he has 3 attacks, 3s, 4s, no rend damage 1. So he's not got much melee damage, but a decent amount of shooting output with just 8 tap attacks, basically 8 little poke attacks. It's like a single Vanguard Raptor with a Hurricane crossbow. And he's got 2 abilities. So the first one is Soul Tracker or Soul Hunter. At the start of your charge phase, you can choose 1 visible enemy unit within 24. If you do so, you can add 3 to charge rolls for Idoneth Deepkin units. The Soul Render doesn't heal heroes; he just heals Namati. But we'll get to that in a minute. So if you choose this enemy unit within 24 that you can see, you can add 3 to charge rolls for Idoneth Deepkin units which are within 12 inches of the chosen unit. So they have to be in charge range already. You just add 3. However, the first model moved must finish its move within half an inch, or the charge will be failed. Ooh, unlucky. The second unit he's got is actually a outflank ability. So instead of placing this unit on the battlefield, you can put it to the side and say it's going to travel in the Ether Sea. In this case, at the moment of placing another Idoneth Deepkin unit on the table, instead of deploying it, you can announce that it will join the Soul Scryer in the Ether Sea. Up to 2 units can join it in this manner. At the end of one of your movement phases, you can place this model entirely within 6 inches of a board edge and more than 9 inches from enemy units. Then place the units which have joined this model entirely within 6 inches of a board edge, entirely within 12 inches of the Soul Scryer, and more than 9 inches from all enemies. So you can teleport him and up to 2 friendly units to the side of the board or behind enemy lines, assuming you've got 9 inches of space to do it. It's kind of like using the Lord of Keylor's command ability, or using the it's basically like using the Vanguard Hunter, the Astral Compass ability, to bring in a pile of units together on one side of the board. It's pretty useful, but you need the space to do it. As I've discovered with my Soul Stormcast, that's not always easy. And if a unit has a base more than 6 inches wide, bear in mind it can't be placed because you have to be entirely within 6 inches of the board edge. Just keep that in mind as well. So you might not be able to do an outflank Doom Turtle. Sad times indeed. Yeah, the Soul Render's not a healer. He's a Namati healer, but he won't heal the heroes. Like, his ability heals Namati units and nothing else. The half-inch thing is just basically, you don't have to get into base contact. Like, sometimes you can't physically get into base contact because of the way the models are, so they give you half an inch of leeway. That's all it is. I wouldn't be too thrown off by it, if you can help it anyway. Once you've done it a few times, you just get used to it and it's not a big challenge at all. Is there anything on here I need to see? No. Okay, that's where we're at. It has to be the table edge. I take movement shenanigans when you can, but still. Yeah, and the problem is he's 100 points for that, and he doesn't do much other than that. So it's kind of like the Knight Vexilor problem, where he buffs your charges, and he gives you a one-use only teleport ability, admittedly for more units, and it's an outflank rather than just a straight teleport, but I don't know. I think he could be, for 100 points, I think he's on the cusp of being usable. Not my favourite, but usable. Finally, you have the Soul Render, which is your hook dude. I don't think what an obnoxious word. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Sigmar, get me the hammers. Their order, chill. So the Soul Render is a 6-inch move, 5 wounds, bravery 8, but a 4+ save instead of pay to drop the Doom on them. Like I say, you might not be able to fit a Doom Turtle on the board edge. That's the thing. So the Soul Render has a 4-up save instead of a 6-up save. So he's a lot tougher, as you'd expect for an armoured combat hero. His hook, the Talon hook, with a U accent. Like I say, you might not be able to do it with Doom Turtles. So 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 2. So pretty good. And then the fish that's with him, the Raker Dart, which is its name, is D3 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 1. And both of them have quite long reach. So the hook has a 2-inch reach and the fish has a 3-inch reach, which is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not the best, but for 100 points, it's not bad. Admittedly, it doesn't compare all that favourably with some units, but you're not always taking him for his power. You'll sometimes be taking him for his other abilities. And they are 2, actually. So to start the combat phase, you can choose an enemy hero within 3 inches and roll the dice. Subtract 2 if the model is a hero and a monster. So on a 4+, you can reroll hit rolls with the hook against the hero. So however, this will only be a 6+ if attacking a monster. So you do better at hitting them with your hook attacks, but you only have 2 anyway, so you probably want a way to buff this guy's attack stat if you could. The sharks. Yeah, the sharks would work. The alapexes would work, and they hit relatively hard in many ways. He's then got a secondary ability. So at the end of your battle shock phase, choose a friendly unit of Namati entitled in 12 inches of this model and throw a D3. Replace as many dead models in the unit as the result. So you basically regenerate D3 models in an Namati unit. Add 1 for each enemy killed by the Talon Hook during the combat phase this turn. So D3 plus the amount of models you killed, Namati, get healed every single turn. And that's a powerful ability if you can get him into combat, and as the chat says, if you're using a lot of Namati. And again, 100 points for a Soul Render. I quite like the Ishiran. They all have their uses, all 3 of them. The maximum for this unit, the max number for which unit? You really need to be more clear. Sharks 4, Namati Thralls 30, Namati Reavers 20. Sometimes I can't give up with exactly what you're on, right? You could be referring to Sharks, you could be referring to Namati, we don't know. Namati, okay. The combat guys, 30 points. The 30 models, the shooting guys, 20 models. It might be a worse reanimation protocols, but you don't get much resurrection outside of death and Nurgle in Age of Sigmar. There's a lot less healing and regeneration going on. It's good enough. Like when the death count is much faster, Eddy healing will do, particularly on your battle units, and they're also a lot harder to kill because of Forgotten Nightmares, meaning that only the closest unit can be shot. So they all have the 40k characters rule, the unnerfed version. So only the closest of the close units can be targeted by shooting attacks, which is pretty nasty for trying to take them out of range. Once you get into melee, I think they are beatable because they're only average in melee in many cases, but getting rid of them before that is going to be a nightmare. So there's the king if you're doing a Kellyan or Soul Render if you're doing Namati. Why not both? You should also bear in mind that all Ishiran heroes, all 4 of them, so the Tidecaster, the Soul Scryer, the Soul Render, and the Soul Warden, Lotan, all unlock Namati Reavers, which are the shooty guys, as battle line. All of them, if they're your general. I still think you need a mix of Namati and Akkelians. In terms of what your general should be, I mean, perhaps you do want a Soul Render as your general to unlock more Namati options, but the king has a command ability, and don't underestimate that. No, Forgotten Nightmare, not Unforgotten, sorry. If I said Unforgotten, I apologize. I mean Forgotten Nightmare, sorry. But yeah, the king's got a command ability, and don't underestimate that. The king having a command ability when no one else does is actually really important. I mean, some of the enclaves give you command abilities. I think there's at least one. Battalion, magic, battalion. That's a command trait. Okay, no, there are no other command abilities available. The only other command ability that you can get for these guys is bad pun. It's fine. The only other command ability you can get is taking your Royal Council, but that requires you to take 2 Isharan heroes and a king and keep them together. So it's... command abilities are not going to be the strength of this army. Not even close. Something you've just got to keep in mind is you basically don't have a command ability unless you are an Achelian king and it's high tide turn. Yeah. You're doing an Achelian based army, it's 1500 points minimum. Well, that if you're taking the battalions, yeah. If you're taking the battalions, yes, it is. It's expensive. I mean, what is it? It's a king, 2 units of cavalry, a shark, and a Leviathan. I mean, you don't need to take... You basically don't need a Soul Scryer and a Tiecaster in that scenario. So the bare minimum, you're paying what? 380, 580, 620, 760, 900, 1040, 1140, and if you want the other heroes, the 1240, 1340. Yeah, it's about 1500 points to just take all the Achelians and then random 2 Isharan. Spamming IP. IP? IP? What's IP? What is IP? I have no idea what IP is. Oh, Inspiring Presence. Inspiring Presence, of course. Inspiring Presence is only 1 unit. Outright detachment. I'll have to go and have a look at that later. I don't remember exactly which thing you're on about. Yeah, let's do the spells, actually. That's a good idea. We do the spells, the prayers. Yeah, I got it eventually. So, yeah. So, for your wizards, which are the Tidecasters and the Aspect of the Sea, you have access to the Domain or the Law of the Sea, or the Domaine de Profondeur, Domaine de Profondeur, as it is in French. So, as I say, you know 1 spell off of here, on top of the spells you normally know. And you can either pick or you can roll, same as always. But you need the Idoneth Deepkin Allegiance. So the first one is Tide Walker, or Tide Strider or something. Casting value of 5. Pick a hero which is not a monster, and that is within 6 inches of the sorcerer and visible to them. Take this model off the battlefield and replace it 24 inches or less from its initial starting position. The Battletome structure like the Codex is. How so? How so? Because I don't own a modern Codex, so please expand. Sorry, where was I? So it's basically Lightning Chariot, casting value of 5, pick a hero in 6 that's not a monster, which is actually none of them. None of them are monsters, not even Volturnos. Then move it up to 24 inches, staying more than 9 inches from an enemy unit, and it cannot move in the movement phase. So it's just a shunt. It's just a shunt ability. Allows you to just jump a unit 24 inches forward. It's got a slightly better range than Lightning Chariot because it's 6 inches, not 3. So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good spell. Abyssal Shadows? Ténèbres. I can never remember what Ténèbres is. I think it's Shadows. Or something like that. Casting value 5 in case of success until your next hero phase. Idoneth Deepkin units within 9 inches entirely count as being in cover. So, blob up, cast this spell, you have an aura of +1 save. This is pretty good. Okay, right. As I say, I'll try and have a look at that later. Vorpal Maelstrom, 6 to cast. Pick a point of the battlefield within 18 inches and visible. Roll the dice for each unit within 3 inches, friend or foe. It doesn't say enemy unit, so yes, you have to consider that. If the result is less than or equal to the number of models in a unit, they take D3 mortal wounds. So throw this in the middle of a block of units and watch them all start dying. Pressure of the Deeps. So casting value of 7. Pick a enemy model within 12 inches and roll the dice. If it's superior to its wound characteristic, it is killed. So good for sniping off mid-range enemy models and low-tier heroes. -8 bravery on top of D3 extra for the heroes. Ugh. Ugh. Jesus. So yeah, Oppression of the Depths, I think that's going to be mainly good for sniping off things like Stormcast Paladins, low-tier heroes with like 4 wounds. Anything with like 5 or more wounds is almost immune. With 5 wounds is almost immune. 6 wounds and up, you are immune to this. So, I don't know. It's kind of good, kind of not. Tide of Fear, or Tide of Terror, one of the two. Casting value of 6. Pick an enemy unit visible within 12 inches. Until your next hero phase, take 1 away from their hit rolls and from their bravery. So that's pretty good. -1 to hit is always good. And -1 bravery is a nice one to stack on top of it. I was supposed to get -1 to hit before. No, there isn't. That's something else. And finally, Arcane Ruin. So casting value of 6. In case of success, measure the distance between the caster and the nearest enemy unit within 48 inches. Up to 12, it's 1 mortal wound, 12 to 24, 2 mortal wounds, 24 to 36, 3 mortal wounds, and 36 to 48, 4 mortal wounds. So put your caster in a corner and blast. It hits the nearest enemy unit, but it does more damage the further away you are, kind of like the old conversion beamer that was on Masters of the Forges from 40k. Steed of Tides, Tide of Fear. Tide of Fear is good. Tide of Fear is very good. Steed of Tides, I do think is pretty useful in the right hands. It'll be useful for getting your Eidolons into better positions. It'll be useful for moving your Achillean Kings. And also potentially getting some of your Isharan out of harm's way. The cover bonus one is nice, but it requires you to blob up. Vorpal Maelstrom I think is alright, but it's not stellar. And Pressure of the Depths is good against the right army, but generally no. I think against most armies it's not going to do much, unless they've got like 4 wound heroes or lots of 3 wound infantry. But it'll do, actually, be good against cavalry. Arcane Ruin I think is also kind of situational, because it's just that you need to be way, way back to make it work. I don't know. I'll agree with Steed of Tides and Tide of Fear. But I wouldn't rule out Abyssal, whatever Ténèbres is. Ténèbres, just the accent. Whatever that spell is, I think that's a useful one to have in the right scenario. Particularly if you could combine it with the Leviathan and the Nautilar, which is one of the enclaves. Friendless the Arcane Corrosion, but he used Sea Beam when he can. Is it Corrosion? That word is supposed to translate over very well. The other thing you can do is Isharan Rituals. So this is something that all Isharan can do, so you don't need a priest, but you get a bonus if you're a priest. So to so you can do 1 ritual per hero phase. Choose a Isharan hero more than 9 inches from all enemy units and roll 2d6. Add 1 if you're within 1 inch of a Gloontide shipwreck, and add another 1 if it's a priest, and add another 1 per hero who is an Isharan within 3 inches, but plus 2 for each priest within 3 inches. So let's say you're a priest and you're within 3 inches of another priest, and within 3 inches of, and within 1 inch of terrain, you get plus 4. If you are a Tide caster within 3 inches of a Soul Render, you'll get plus 1. And then you've got, and it's a 10 plus to cast, so you'll need that pluses quite a lot. So you'll need to be casting this really with plus 2 or 3. I want to see if the spell there's no useful option multiple ways to make a normal caster stand out. Yeah, definitely. There's certainly some useful stuff you can do. There's no terrible one, and there's no utterly broken one either. It's just a nice mix. The 10 plus to cast with potential of Yeah, +1 for terrain, +1 for being a priest, +1 for nearby hero, plus another 1 if that hero is a priest. 10 plus to cast, and you have 3 options. Until your next hero phase, enemy units do not get a cover bonus, which is nasty. Heal 1 wound for each friendly Eidolon on the battlefield, and reroll hit and casting rolls for Eidolons until your next hero phase. So that's savagely powerful if you have particularly more than 1 Eidolon, but especially if you have an aspect of the sea Eidolon that can charge. And Ritual of the Storm, enemy units cannot fly, which is really nasty for Caradron, I suspect. And Zinch, can't roll that Zinch. Oh. So yeah, the issue around rituals are really good, but they are difficult to get off. Unless you build around them, they are difficult to get off. Like, at bare minimum, you want to be casting this with a Soul Scryer with a nearby somebody else to make this work at best. Or have it be cast with a Soul Scryer nearby to get +2. It's difficult, but they are good. I think the best one is probably the Eidolon ritual, but you need an Eidolon to do that. Otherwise, taking away cover could be extremely useful for your shooting. They all do sound sweet. I think they're all useful, but they are difficult to get off, and you need to bear that in mind. Does the... what keyword does the Eidolon have? Does not have the Ashrine keyword. Good to know. That one has the wizard keyword, so you can cast one of the spells. Yeah, so they're your heroes and your magic and your spells and your rituals. So that's what your hero output's going to look like. And I have to say, it's a nice mix. Nothing seems ridiculous, which is what I really wanted. I wanted Idoneth to be good and maybe shake things up, but I didn't want them to be outright broken, busted, ridiculous. So this is quite a nice balance for me. There's some good stuff in here, but I don't think they're going to break the meta in 5 minutes. I don't. Zinj flying buffs care about if the enemy has flying or not, but easier to cut off escape routes for the mages. Yeah, it's also be good for, like, yeah, if something wants to fly away, it's going to be pinned in place and unable to fly. It'll just have to walk. Like, it can still move at high speed, but it won't be able to flip over stuff. Anything else? Nah, that's okay. What's the range of that long range spell? The long range spell has a 48-inch range, but it gets more, and it only targets the nearest enemy unit. So you basically measure to the nearest enemy unit that you can see, and then if it's within 12, you do 1. If it's within 24, you do 2. 36, you do 3. 48, you do 4. Anything further than that, you miss. So that's how it works. And I have to say, like I say, I'm really happy with that mix. And with the heroes costing 100 points to throw, the Achillean King, I think, is probably 20 points too expensive compared to Volturnos. And the Eidolons are going to be interesting. Like, they are really expensive, but they could actually be worth it anyway. Like, the aspect of the sea especially can do some ridiculous things. And if you can get it casting at +1 to cast and also +1 to hit, it's going to be really nasty. And healing. And the aspect of the Storm, getting an extra wound of healing before it charges in, and it's got +1 to hit, re-rolling 1s. It's going to hit like a bloody brick. Cav can catch the Skyfires quite easily, and if they strike first, the Skyfires will drop as you rob them of their main buffs. Yeah, the Eel Cavalry are very fast, as are the Deep Mares, and you can use Steed of Tides to get a hero into place like an Achillean King and just crash into them. 96 on top of a Balewind. Ouch. But it doesn't say what happens. Does it effectively... So it doubles the effectiveness of everything. And the thing is that then it gets worse. Because then it means that 24 you do 1, 48 you do 2. Right? So technically it gets worse. you take Volturnus, you don't need to pay for the Royal Council. Really? I would disagree. Like, the Royal Council's command ability, which means that you can give 3 units plus 3 to their move each hero phase, that's good. Yeah, you don't need the Royal Council as desperately, but Volturnus just gives out an attack bonus on a high tide turn and adds 1 to bravery on top of an Achillean king. The movement boost of the Royal Council is nothing to do with the fact that it's Volturnus or a king. I don't know where you're getting the fact you don't need to pay for it from. Yeah, I think it might need an FAQ. And he is much better in a Royal Council. Like, getting the bonuses to get +3 move onto some units. Like, again, chasing stuff down. Like, say, right, you 14-inch move cavalry, now you move 17. Go! And if you were like just behind me, you now move 17, but you're still within 18 inches of me. So if you're going into combat and I move to keep up with you, then yay! It's really silly. What the only problem is if you take a Royal Council is you need to have the Soul Scryer and the Tidecaster be within 3 inches of the king at all times to get that command ability off. So you either need to, well, you need to not teleport your Soul Scryer in. You need to not move your heroes around using Steed of Tides, and you need to not just run off with your Achillean king because your other heroes can't keep up. Actually, yeah, let's do the command traits. Let's do the traits. Because these are actually really good. You are right, these are really good. So you have 6 options, as usual, for your Idoneth Deepkin. So, rerolling charges, rerolling 1s to wound, +2 attacks on a high tide turn, +2 wounds, -1 bravery for enemy units within 12, or +2 bravery for all Idoneth within 12. They're all good. The bravery one I think is kind of not as necessary, but +2 attacks on a high tide turn with an Eidolon or with an Achillean king, hit like brick. And +2 wounds on either of those models, again, hit like brick and actually tank it. Rerolling charge ones, not bad. Rerolling 1s to wound, the Eidolon's doing that anyway, but the king isn't, so that's a nice boost. And the bravery aura is alright. It's kind of useful if you can stack it. So if you can stack it with the -1 bravery spell, yeah. Turn 1 stay together, turn 2 they do it, and then split. Yeah, you could manifest it on turn 2, and then go whizzing off, maybe using Steed of Tides even, to whiz off with somebody to make it happen. I don't know. It's certainly plausible. They're all great. They're all good. They are all good. Yeah, it's fine. It's a noticeable difference. But yeah, all those kind of command traits are really good. And the +2 wounds means that the Achillean King's main weakness of only having 7 wounds is slightly mitigated because now he has 9. And 9 wounds is pretty good. And you've got a bunch of relics. Some for Achilleans, some for everybody, some for Isharan, some for wizards. There's a real nice mix of relics actually. So you're encouraged to take plenty of battalions. So for an Achillean, you could get 5+ ignore wounds, +1 to hit and wound rolls once per game, but you'll take a bullet or wound if you do it. 3 inches to your move, reroll 1s to hit for your mount. -1 to hit rolls for melee weapons against him, which is going to be one of the best ones, the Sith Eye armor, I think. Bioelectric Carapace. Do D3 mortal wounds to all enemies within 3 inches once per game. And the Abyssal Blade, give your melee weapon 1 rend, and also most relics of 1 use. There's 2 1 use in Achillean. In the general Idoneth ones, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's 4 there. The Isharan ones, 1, 2, 3, and the Mystic Artifacts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's a lot of one uses, but the ones that aren't one use are generally quite good. Yeah, bravery stack of like +1 per 10. I always forget +1 per 10 is a thing. What does Volturnos? Volturnos doesn't have one. Or if he does, he basically has he's effectively got the bravery one, but slightly better and slightly worse. Like as a command trait, he doesn't have one. And I don't know if he can have one because unique. So yeah, I think there's a real nice mix of stuff in here, and you can really build your army around Achelian or Isharan or mixed, and I think that's nice as well. So you can like, go full in on Namarti and Isharan and infantry, or you can take a king, stack up, go full Achelian and go nuts. There's a really nice balance for that. Ow. Yeah. Yeah, Volturnos can't have one. I didn't think he could, because if you can't have a relic because of unique, you can't have a trait because of unique. It just makes sense. It's a big difference with zombies. Oh yeah, I play Stormcast. I barely ever go past. I don't go past 10 models, and my Witch Elf army I was always having to take 2 units of 10 anyway. So I never saw it as a thing when I was playing before. It never really come up. Have a look at these. So I've gone over the Achelian ones. So what are the Idoneth ones in general? Once per game at the start of your hero phase, will use this rune. If you do this, so you're going to invoke a current or a tidal wave. In the first case, add 1 to the movement of all Idoneth until your next hero phase. In the second case, subtract 1 from the movement of enemies. Ouch! Okay, so go faster for a turn, make the enemy go slower for a turn, 1 of the 2. 6 up ignore wounds, not as good as the Achelian one. Did the Isharan have one? And the Isharan have a 5+1 as well. Once per game, you can unleash the ultimate lamentation of Leandra. In this case, Idoneth Deepkins, which are entirely within 18 inches, do not have to take battle shock, so you get a massive aura of inspiring presence. Yeah, the Achelian ones are really good. Like 5+ ignore wounds, ridiculous. Sith Eye armor, -1 to hit for melee weapons, basically takes away your only weakness other than magic. You've got a nice little nuke ability, you've got a nice little damage booster that you take damage to do it. You get a mount bonus, which is kind of meh, but you get a speed boost off of that. +1 rend on a weapon, and also a bonus against the dash if you've got up against the dash, kind of useful. I think you probably want either the 5+ ignore, or the -1 save. 200 zombies plus 20 bravery. What is the battle shock phase? Yes, also what is matched play, where you have an upper limit. Choose a weapon of the bearer to become a vein of like nocturnal terror. Reroll hit wound rolls of 1 for this weapon, and take away -1 from bravery of enemy units which are wounded by it until the end of the game. Okay, so again you can stack more bravery debuffs. Cloud of Midnight, once per battle, in any phase you can unleash it. It cannot be targeted by attacks, spells, or abilities for the rest of the phase, but cannot attack, use spells or abilities for the rest of the phase. So become immune for a turn to shooting or magic, which is kind of nice. Or use it in a combat phase, you can't attack, but you can't be attacked back. Good for contesting or locking things in place. Also, battle, you can use the Coquillage d'Échange. Choose the enemy hero within 9 and roll 2d6. If it's superior to the bravery, take away 1 from its hit rolls for the rest of the game. Ouch! More use of bravery damage. Oh, the merge. I didn't think I forgot that was the thing. Isharan, 5+ ignore wounds. Once per battle, choose an enemy unit within 3, take away 1 from hit rolls for that unit until the end of the combat phase. Kind of nice if you've kind of just been outflanked or something, but you don't generally want an Isharon in combat except the Soul Render. Oh, excuse me. Take away 1 from casting rolls and wizards within 18 inches, but Idoneth are not affected. Start of your shooting phase, choose an enemy unit in cover. Until the start of your next hero phase, this unit cannot get its cover bonus. Kind of nice. It's like casting the ritual for free, but taking a relic spot. Once per battle, to start your hero phase, choose up to 2 enemy heroes within 12 of each other or less of the caster. The enemy player must therefore must then take 1 of 3 choices. Roll the dice for each hero on a 3 up to take a mortal wound. Roll the dice for each hero on a 5 up they take D3, or each hero takes D3 automatically, but on a 4+ the bearer takes D3. Oh, that's fun. Check the app's got most up-to-date version of the War. I bought the book yesterday. How could they be out of date already? Like, how? How could they be out of date already? Oh. Talking to the person about zombies. Sorry. And finally, once a battle, choose an enemy hero within 12 and roll 2d6 if it's superior or equals the distance between the two. The latter is infected. Subtract 1 from its hit rolls and casting rolls until the end of the game. Oh, sad death player is sad. Okay, so get super up close, roll 2d6, infected with -1. They have a lot of debuffs. Like, the amount of debuffs Idoneth can throw out is silly. Like, it's a silly amount of debuffs. And then wizards, so 5+ ignore wounds, really good on Eidolons. Sands of Infinity, once per battle before making a hit roll. For a spell which lasts normally until your next hero phase. It's before making a casting roll for the bearer for a spell which is until your next hero phase. In this case, if the spell is cast and not dispelled, the effects go until the hero phase after your next hero phase. That's an extra turn. Corellian Anu, that's it's like a collar, like a ring. Gets a ring. Once per battle, you can re-roll a casting roll, and once per battle, you can re-roll a failed dispel. Okay. Bearer can fly and double its run rolls. Nice. Kraken's sword, I guess. During your shooting phase, choose an enemy within 12 inches, and then roll d6. Either take d3 mortal wounds, deal d3 mortal wounds, or on a 6, choose an enemy unit. It's killed if its wound characteristic is less than 10, or it takes 2d6 mortal wounds if its wound characteristic is greater than 10. Ow! Jesus, ow. And then once per battle in your hero phase, roll 2d6. During this hero phase, you can use this result for a casting roll of your choice, or as the dispel roll for an enemy wizard. Okay, so you can like force him to have a bad dispel roll before the casting roll or the dispel roll is made. Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, there's a bunch of ridiculous like debuffs going around. Like Isharon can give out debuffs. The wizards not so much. The Idoneth ones can give out debuffs. They're often based around. That one's based around distance. That one's based around distance, but that's only one play. That's a one use only. Yeah. Seriously, there's a lot of debuffs in here. Right, -1 to hit is a very common debuff. Yeah. Okay. So that's what they're going to be good for. So yeah, there's a lot of good relics in there. Go back to the units. Yeah, debuff central. Like, seriously. If you're an army that relies on buffs, then you're going to hate fighting Idoneth, because they'll just say, oh, you like buffs? Here, have some debuffs that cancel out your buffs, so now you don't get buffs. Ha ha, have fun. Mainly if you do hit buffs. Like, if you're doing wound buffs, it's not so bad. But, damn, there are a lot of debuffs in here. A lot of debuffs. So are there any units in particular you want me to start with? Because I've got the Alapex, we've got the Leviathan, we've got the Cavalry, and we've got 2 units of Namati as well for units. Wow, salty death player. Dear me. Yeah, not so bad so far. It's a little bit slow going, but it's good to have that conversation going on. On to the Cav. Okay, let's do the Cav. So you have 2 units of cavalry. Just what I first did in the Western Path, I just missed it. You've kind of missed the heroes, the relics, the command traits. You've kind of missed a lot. So if you want to be up to date, you'll have to watch the VOD, I'm afraid, because we're like an hour through now. Suffice to say, Volturnus is good, the Achillean King is maybe slightly overcosted. All the Isharan are useful, but maybe not stellar. The spells are decent, the prayers are really good but expensive, and the command traits are ridiculous, and the relics are fun. Also, I'd hope you don't like hit buffs. Stormcast should have trouble here too. No, they really use their already good hit and wound rolls. The Stormcast don't rely on buffs, they rely on just being solid as they are. They'll suffer from debuffs, yes, but they're also... The Idoneth don't have a lot of rend and are generally not going to be great at cracking them open. Ish. Like, the Thralls can crack them, but generally they don't have huge amounts of rend. And the Stormcast have also got a bit of wound output, which the Idoneth have got no defense against. I think Stormcast Idoneth will be an interesting matchup. It'll be an interesting matchup it would depend on the chamber as well. Like, a Vanguard chamber would suffer like crazy because of Forgotten Nightmares, whereas an Extremis chamber would really just run roughshod-ish, and a Warrior chamber would just rely on defense. Oh, I'm glad it's growing on you. The more people get to look at Age of Sigmar and give it a go, yeah. Okay. Alright, fair enough. At the moment, as I said in the stream announcement, I'm mainly focusing on the game. The main lore bit you might want to learn is that the bonds on Slaanesh are loosening, so potentially Slaanesh is going to get free. Maybe. Also, Morathi's really horrible. Morathi is absolutely horrible. Okay, so the Achillean Morsar Guard and the Ishlayan Guard both have a 14-inch move, a 4+ save, 4 wounds, and a bravery of 6. We'll do the Morsar first. The lore is great, but I don't want to say game damned as a result. So the Morsar are 160 points for 3. They have a spear, which is 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, no rend, damage 1. But on a charge, they are 2 rend and 2 damage. Which is pretty damn good. Their champion gets +1 to his attacks. You can have a standard bearer that rerolls their battle shot tests, and if they have a musician, they reroll their charges. The charts count as Cav. We'll do the Alapexes after, because they're technically monsters. We'll do the Alapex after. No, but there's horrible, and there's setting up another elf who was captured by Slaanesh to have a meeting with the Mask of Slaanesh when he should have been meeting her. That's beyond horrible. The eel also has 1 attack, 3s and 3s, damage D3, and D3 attacks, 3s and 3s, no rend, damage 1. You also have a biovoltaic discharge, so once per game at the start of a combat phase, you can discharge your Volt Spears. So roll 1 dice per model in the unit. On a 3+, choose an enemy unit within 3 inches to take a mortal wound. If you roll a 6, you do D3 mortal wounds. It's fine. I didn't even notice. Just kind of blocked it out. So yeah, these guys are gonna hit really hard on the charge, and they've got a nice mortal wound thing, so they can hit exceptionally hard on the charge. But if they don't charge, they suck. Like over 50 points a model for 4 wound, 4 up save cavalry. Not great. They need the charge. They really, really, really need the charge. That's all I'm going to say. These guys need the charge, the Morsar Guard. They're good, but as they're described here, they're light shock cavalry. That's all they're going to do. Like, shock light cavalry. Hit ridiculously hard, and that's it. Not in a tolerant mood for that. And it did. Losing her elven beauty did make her mad, to the point that she stormed out of the Grand Alliance as a result. Because Nagash called her out on it. Oh, that's interesting. The Eidolon Guard don't have command. That's intriguing. So the Eidolon Guard, again, 14-inch, 4 wound, 4 up, 6 bravery. Their sword is 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, no rend damage 1. And then they have the eel attack, which is 3s, 3s, no rend damage D3, 1 attack. And then D3 attacks, 3s, 3s, no rend damage 1. Oh no, they do have leaders, sorry. +1 attack for the champion, reroll battle shock for the standard bearer, and reroll charges for musicians. They have fly, same as the others, and they ignore rend when you make their saves. And if they charge, they have a 3+ save instead of a 4+, so they are very tanky by comparison. Fast hero artillery hunter. Yeah, they'll be good for sniping things off, and you can throw them into a tar pit or into medium units, and they will do a lot of damage. They will hit units exceptionally hard, but once they've lost the impetus, they need to get out and charge somewhere else. That's just something you need to consider, is that they can't take a huge amount of damage, and they need the charge. The Eidolon Guard are tougher, but they don't hit half as hard because they maybe have more attacks, but they don't get the rend and they don't get the damage. They're just a lot tougher. Yeah, she did. That's what being eaten by Slaanesh did to her. She can assume the guise of an Elven Queen, which is what she does most of the time, but yeah, Morathi has her issues. Morathi has her issues. Whew. Love the Eidolon more, but I like tougher stuff. Well, the Eidolon are the tougher ones. The Eidolon are the tough ones, the Morsar are the damaged ones. If it helps to distinguish between the two, it's sword and shield, and the Morsar are the lancers. The Eidolon have swords, the Morsar have lances. That might just help you distinguish between the two if you're like not sure on names. I should also point out the Eidolon are slightly cheaper than the Morsar, so the swordsmen are 140, the spearmen are 160. Just need to point that out as well. And they're both 3 to 12. And they become battle line if you take an Achillean hero, so a king or Volturnos. Malekith and, well, Valyrian as he is now, and Morathi are not that close. Are these descendants of the Lothern Seaguard by any chance? No. They are not descendants of the Lothern Seaguard. That honour goes to the Swifthawk agents. These guys are Matlin followers, so the leader of the Seaguard, Aeslin Sealord, was one of them, but they are not descendants of the Seaguard. Oh, you like the tougher stuff more. Okay, so you like the Eidolon over the Morsar, but generally tougher things like the Alopex would be more your thing. Also, I keep needing to call back to this, Forgotten Nightmares. They are not going to get shot. Need to keep remembering this. They're impossible to shoot. 997, Herald on Seed, 40 Seekers in 3 units, 15, 15, 10, Hellflare used for an icon. Ouch. That's pretty nasty. That's pretty nasty. So yeah, there's your cavalry. The Alapex is your actual like mid-range monster. It's actually got the monster keyword for some reason. It is 12-inch move, 8 wounds, 4 up save, and bravery 6. So it's actually as tough as an Echelian king without the shield. And then it can have 1 of 2 guns. So either 3 attacks, 3s, 3s, no rend damage 1, 24-inch range, or 1 attack, 3s and 3s, no rend damage 3 within 18-inch range. So you can either have lots of little chip attacks or 1 big attack. You then have all of those attacks? Yeah, all of those attacks. So 5 attacks, 3s, 4s, no rend damage 1, and then 1 attack, 3s, 3s, rend 2 damage 3, and 4 attacks, 3s, 3s, rend 1 damage 1. They can fly, and at the start of your charge phase, if you're within 12 inches of enemy units that have suffered 1 or more wounds, so enemy models, sorry, who have taken 1 or more wounds, not units who've lost models, models who are wounded, then you can reroll charges that turn. One thing like an Age of Sigmar, the reason I started changing my mind is that it's a very original setting. Yeah, it is. It's something brand new to the world of Warhammer and to the universe in general. It's more worship of the god of the sea as opposed to being good sailors, but yeah, close enough, I guess. So yeah, I like the Alapex. It's not the best shooter, but it can do some good damage. But if it gets into combat, holy balls. Like, give this thing +1 attack off an Echelian King's command ability, and maybe the rerolls thing. No, they're not. The Bow Spear Shield unit has been around for a lot longer than that. Lothern Seaguard had models all the way back before I was playing Fantasy. That's a really old one. The Lothern Seaguard, they're ancient. They had ancient upgrade kits, like metal upgrade kits. You couldn't buy them until the Island of Blood, but they've been around for ages. Yeah, the Sharks are great. They are 140 points each, though. So you get the same. So for the cost of 3 Ishleyan Guard, or just slightly less than 3 Morsar Guard, you get 1 Alapex. But they do hit like a brick, and if you can buff them with an Echelian King, then yeah, brick. Absolute brick. Alright. So yeah, definitely. I don't know which gun I prefer. Like, the net launcher to me seems better because it's a damage 3 gun, but it's got a little bit less range, but you want to get up close to this thing anyway. 3 plink shots basically does nothing. 3 plink shots to me just is not worth jack. So it's 1 damage 3 shot. Yeah, it's not as good, but yeah. The High Elves had some really... I don't remember what books were written by who when, but sure. I feel like Alessio had a hand in the High Elf book. I don't remember. And yeah, the not shooting thing, again, makes the Alapex really dangerous. Just, I have to keep calling back to Forgotten Nightmares. Forgotten Nightmares is probably the most powerful ability going. Just you're impossible to shoot. What more is there to say? I want some crisps. I'm going to get some Pringles. Hang on. Yeah, Alapex, and then also the Cavalry is good. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to be slightly unprofessional here. I'm going to have some crisps. The loudest of crisps. Wounds do spell. Yes, it's not like 40k where a damage 3 attack to a 1 wound model, a unit of 1 wound models kills 1, it kills 3. Damage does spill over, so that's why I think the damage 3 attack is better. Because, yeah, it's a bit more of a Hail Mary, but if it hits, oof. Also, if you want the Plink gun, you get them on the Doom Turtle. So yeah, I do like the Alapex. Oh. And then finally, since we're doing all the big beasts, yeah, when has Elf Cavalry not been good? And then finally, you've got the Leviathan. This thing is going to set you back, just for the record, 380 points. This thing costs a lot, but it's got a 12-inch move base, 16 wounds, 3 up save, 7 in bravery. It's got a 24-inch range gun, 3 attacks, 3 threes, no rend damage 1. And then you have, is it? Yeah. And then 4 attacks, 3s, 3s, no rend damage 1. 1 attack, 2s, 2s, rend 2 damage d6. 4 attacks, 3s, 3s, rend 1 damage 3. And 2 attacks, 3s, 3s, no rend damage 2. Now that's a basic. The hit roll of the damage d6 attack falls off very fast. And the damage of the fins falls off from 3 to 2 when you get to about half wounds. It can fly. If you roll a 6 to hit with the jaw attack, you do 6 mortal wounds instead of rolling to wound. And most powerfully, I think, 2 harpoon launchers. Oh, it has 2 guns. That's true. They have both. Basically, they've split the Dark Elves into several factions at the moment. You can have Dark Riders in the Shadowblade faction, who still have horses. But you then have the Cold One Cavalry and Cold One Chariots in the Order Serpentis faction, along with the War Hydra. So you still have both. However, the one thing that I think is most nasty about the Leviathan is Idoneth Deepkin units entirely within 12 inches of a friendly Leviathan count as being in cover. I'm going to eat a Pringle and let that sink in. Every Idoneth unit within 12 inches entirely of them has +1 save against shooting. Now, it's not actually that good because I've forgotten Nightmares, but oof. Unless having the cover bonus also affects melee. Does it affect melee? Oh yeah, people are catching up. I have a... I'll just get my rule book here. Is this just the law book? Oh no, it doesn't stack. I know it doesn't stack. It won't stack with cover. They count as being in cover. So being in cover and then counted as being in cover, of course that's not going to stack. There are no rules in here. Oh no, there might be. God damn it, they're not in here. On turn 1, yeah, your thralls are not dying. Yeah, that would be very true. They're going to be, yeah, they are. They're going to be really, really interesting. They're going to be really interesting. Let me just go and double check cover. Let me just go and check whether cover affects melee. Is there a root at the back of here? Of course not. I know I have one. Ah, here we go. cover. Okay, so if more in a unit are within or on a terrain feature, you can add 1 to all saves for that unit to represent the cover they receive from the terrain. This does not apply in the combat phase if the unit you are making saves for made a oh my god, it works in melee if you're not charging. As long as you're not charging, it affects everything. The thing is, whether you're making a digital version of their games would damage the board games or not. I don't think the game would work digitally. Like, you need the ability to get I don't know, there's something about doing it physically. Like, tabletop sim is nice. Like, having things like tabletop sim is nice. But I don't think it would ever replace the main tabletop game. It might even benefit it, I don't know. But it certainly would not hurt the tabletop game. And it will certainly never replace it. Yeah, you want a turtle in your army. And you especially want a turtle in your army if your army just so happens to be Nautilar. Because Nautilar, who are one of the enclaves you can take, get reroll, that's hit rolls if they're charged. They have a spell for their tidecasters which reduces incoming rend. If you charge, you do not get the bonus. If you are charged, you do get the bonus. Two Doom Turtles, make sure you get the buff. Well, again, if you're playing Nautilar, their Achillean core can have 2 instead of 1. But yes, you absolutely want a Leviathan in your army, even not 2. I do not need a Drakari army, especially considering I've got my Idoneth to keep me busy and then the Daughters of Cain after that. I have plenty to be doing. I can playtest a Drakari army if I want to sometime, using them as counters, but it's not top of my priority. Yeah, there's this army's gonna be potentially impossible to murder. I think that's its main strength, is it's nigh impossible to kill conventionally. Like, combine a Leviathan with the ability to ignore rend on your Ishlayan Guard, and all of a sudden they've got a 3-up save or a 2-up save on the turn they charge, a 3-up save if they're not charging, or they get +1 to their save when they charge, and they're re-rolling. No, they're not re-rolling. And they're also, yeah. Oh. Yeah, there's fun things. But yeah, it is 700 odd points. I'll give you that. 750 points. You probably want a second Riptide. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I might take a burst tide if I ever get around to going back to my Tau. I might get a second, I get a burst tide that I've got both. 760. It is a lot. It is a lot. But in a 2,000 point army, I think that's okay. Seems both incredibly tough and incredibly hard hitting. It's not tough. Like, generally, outside of the bonuses off of the Leviathan, your army is flimsy as hell. Get it into melee, your basic infantry has a 5+ save. Your cavalry has a 4+ save. In fact, nothing apart from the turtle and the kings has a 3-up save. Actually, no, the idol. Oh, actually, yeah. I don't know about incredibly tough, but they're going to be sticky. Maybe even too sticky. I think their damage output is tolerable in many cases. It can be stacked, but it's tolerable. They're just tough for elves. For elves, they're really tough. Seen some sims the Doom Turtles are rated, it looks good. Yeah, you could probably do some really cool stuff with the Howdar and make it look good. Well, yes, he's Archaon, that's just what he does. I raise you the Eidolon, which costs 400 or 440, depending on its aspect, so, lol jokes, I've got you beat on that one. The Isharana. Next week's previews, that's good to know. Let's see what the playtesters are saying about the Idoneth. There's just an article up on my community, I'm curious. Yep. 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 And yeah, I agree with all of those things, and we've come across many of those just whilst we've been talking. Bad luck is how we do podcasts before big reveals. It's pure bad luck. So the last two units, well, yeah, I'm not going to do the Eidolons, don't need to really discuss low tans, not much to say. The only unit we haven't discussed on stream before is the Namati Reavers, the Bowmen. So they have 8-inch move, so they're ridiculously fast, like they're faster than Witch Elves, with a 5-up save and a bravery of 6, and 1 wound. If they have standard bearers, they get +1 attack in melee, and reroll battleshot tests, which is nice. They can reroll their run rolls, so they're ridiculously fast. Especially when you combine it with the turn 2 ability to run and act, which is really nice. In melee, they have 2 attacks, 3s and 4s, no rend damage 1. And at range, they have 1 of 2 fire modes. They can pick which one they want each turn. So before attacking with a Whisper Bow, choose either aimed or Stormfire to attack. So you either get 1 attack at an 18-inch range, 4s and 4s, no rend damage 1. Or 9-inch range, 3 attacks, 4s and 4s, no rend damage 1. So you effectively get 2 extra attacks when you get within half range. That's pretty good. They cost 140 for 10. You can have 20 in a unit, and they become battle line if you have an Isharan hero as your general. So Lotan, Soul Render, Soul Scryer, or Tidecaster. The banner rule is as follows. Models in this unit can be icon bearers. You can reroll battle shot test for a unit of Namati Reavers, which includes 1 or icon bearers. As well as that, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of the Keening Blade of a icon bearer. That is exactly the same as for the Namati Thralls, just for the record. And the Cavalry icon bearers give them rerolls of battle shot tests as well. It's nice to see standard bearers and musicians and champions make a return. Like the full command make a return to a new army. It's not a redo. That's a nice change, I have to say. Mute. Here we go. Yeah, Reavers I think are going to be good. I don't know. I mean, they are really fast, like stupid fast archer units that can burn out a lot of shots. Only risk is if you run them forward, well, they get shot to ribbons. And they will get shot to ribbons because nothing else in the army can keep up with them. Anything that does keep up with them doesn't want to get shot. So, you might want to like protect them with a Leviathan behind. That way they've got a 4+ save. Which is nice. Turn 1 though, they can rush forward. Turn 2, they can rush and shoot. Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all, Namati Reavers. Not bad at all. And yeah, Idoneth are just a really nice mix. Definitely going to be a stronger army than the Daughters of Cain, I believe. But yeah. It says models from this unit. So yeah, any model can. It says any. It says models of this unit, so not one in. It's any model. First to get a solo buff from a banner. Yeah, it's the first time we've not seen champions in units. Like it's interesting to see icon bearers without champions and musicians. It's just an interesting way of doing things. Yeah, I have to say I'm impressed. I suppose there's more I can discuss. Like I'll probably be going into like paint schemes and stuff going forward in the discussion, but. Yeah, I have to say, I really like what they're doing with the Idoneth. They're powerful, but I don't think they're going to be meta-defining level powerful. They're just going to be good enough to shake things up. The attack bonus is for their melee weapon, not their shooting weapon. Just FYI. But yeah. I'm actually going to take a... Now that we've done like the main review, we've gone over the units, we've had our discussions of those units. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break, get myself some proper food, top my drink up, and then we'll bomb-proof glass nukes. I don't think they're glass nuke launchers. Like the Daughters of Cain are glass nuke launchers. They hit stupid hard, but are stupid flimsy. These guys are more like wooden cannons. Like they hit pretty hard, but they'll still fall apart if you know what you're doing with them. So I think they're going to be tougher, but not as hard hitting as some older armies, that's for sure. But they're going to be very, very annoying and very, in the right hands, could be an absolute, well, nightmare. So we'll have to see how it pans out, but I'm positive going forward, and I think when we come back, I'll do the enclave rules and things like that, and we can discuss paint scheme and stuff, because then I can pick the army that I want to take in going forward. We can discuss things like that. So we'll do that, but for the moment, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to take a slightly longer one so I can get some actual food, and we'll be about 10 minutes, and that'll all be good. So enjoy yourselves for 10 minutes, have a good conversation amongst yourselves, decide what you like and what you don't like, and I will be back in a few. Right, apologies for the slightly extended delay, but I needed to eat, and now we are back. I was having a look at that list actually whilst I was having my dinner. So Volturnos, Tidecaster, Soul Render, 2 lots of 10 Thralls, Initial Lane Guard, 4 Sharks, 10 main Arrivas, 1 Turtle, 1980 points. I'd be tempted to split the Sharks into 2 units of 2, just so you've got more flexibility with them. But other than that, I can't really complain. I think I'm tempted about upgrading that to Morsar Guard to round out the 2000, but I kind of prefer Ishlane to Morsar as well. Just having the extra defense is going to be very helpful in general, but Morsar do have their place, and I think it could definitely be swapped in if you wanted to. I think one of the things you'd have to play test with Ishlane with Morsar, see how the 2 perform. So yeah, more likely to be 2 units of 2, yeah. Like, a unit of 4 just seems like overkill in the most extreme way, so I would have thought 2 2s would be better. But yeah, I'm back. Welcome back to the stream. If anybody left, then sorry, but yeah, here we are. So what I want to do in this sort of second half of the stream is take any questions, both as far as we go. Battalions are needed. And of course I put it as far away as possible. I'm very good. There are 5 battalions, 6 if you include their allied one. Or is it 4 then 5? Oh no, it's 4, 5 if you include. Is no Vanguard Battle Force any good? Battle Force? You mean the Vanguard Brotherhood? Yeah, that's a Battle Force. Yeah, I bought that for Christmas when it was available. And I basically used it to build half my, basically along with Blight War, build my entire army. So the 4 battalions that you get without allies are... Cool. So the Royal Council is a king, which can be Volturnos, a Tidecaster, and a Soul Scryer. The Soul Scryer is basically your tax here. And you get a command ability. That's all you get, is a command ability for 140 points to give you this command ability, which you use in your hero phase if the king is your general and if the Tidecaster and the Soul Scryer are within 3 inches. If you do so, up to 3 Idoneth Deepkin units, which are entirely in 12 inches of your general, add 3 to their move until your next hero phase. So these guys need to stick together to give out a buff to other nearby-ish units to get them up the board or away. So very good. Is it worth 140 points? And the tax of a Soul Scryer, who in this scenario kind of isn't that amazing because he's going to be stuck next to the king. Basically, you're only going to use this command ability once, maybe twice. That's the problem, because you need your king to be getting stuck in. Your king needs to do damage to be worth his cost. Your Tidecaster spells, okay, you can keep the Tidecaster close by using Steed of Tides, but the Soul Scryer, no. Alvaris looks pretty damn good, not my favourite, but really good. The Lenaeans look good as well. I know about reducing army drops. In terms of the battalions themselves and their actual benefits, that's the question. So the second one is the Achelian Core. Get the Vanguard Brotherhood to defeat an AOS. Oh, go for it. The only thing with doing that is that you are... You'd have enough battle line, wouldn't you? Yeah, you'd have enough battle line. There's a battle force in there, a battalion in there. It's 140 points. 140, not 2. 1. I still don't think it's good at 140. I don't think it's the best at 140. It's usable, but it's a heavy tax, especially when you don't want to turn 1 charge. This is the thing. Idoneth benefit from turn 2 charges where they get their rerolls and turn 3 charges where they're striking first. Turn 1, they don't want to be charging at all because they have a cover bonus. They have +1 to their save because they count as being in cover, so they don't want to be charging on turn 1. So it's good, but I don't know if it's 140 points good. The Achillean Core, on the other hand, will set you back 100 points, and that includes 1 Leviathan, 2 to 4 units of Achillean Guard, so 2 to 4 units of Eel Cavalry, either Ishlayan or Morsa in any combination, and 1 to 2 units of Alapexes, so 1 to 2 units of Sharks. If you do so, once per phase, you can reroll a hit, wound, save, run, or charge for 1 unit of this battalion, which is entirely within 12 inches of the Leviathan when you make the reroll. So one of your units rerolls its runs, and you have 1 rerolled charge dice for 1 unit, and 1 rerolled attack dice or save dice per phase. That's good. That's really good. I was adding the leader into the one for... yeah, the Soul Scryer is kind of just tax. It's good for positioning, yes, and it will be useful, but to do so, to keep this unit, that ability going, you need to keep your king not moving at the same speed as the rest of your army that's whizzing around the place, because he has to stay within 3 inches of 2 units, only one of which is a wizard that can teleport to keep up with him. I don't know, I just don't think it's good enough. I think it's nice, but I don't think it's good enough. The Achillean Core, as I said, is 100 points, so I think it's pretty good. It says 1 per phase, so 1 in the charge phase, 1 in the shooting phase, 1 in the movement phase, 1 in the combat phase. It's a lot of rerolls. So it says once per phase here, unless it's actually supposed to say once per turn or once per round or something. So if your version reads differently to mine because of translation, then okay. Your other one is the Namati Core. This one is also 100 points, and this requires you to take 1 Soul Render, 2 to 6 units of Thralls, so 2 to 6 combat units, and 2 to 4 Reaver units. If this is your entire army, by the way, the Reavers will also be battle line because the Soul Render will be your general and he is Isharan. And what this does is it basically says if this Soul Render uses his healing ability on a unit from this battalion, the D3 that you resuscitate is automatically 3. So basically, you heal D3 plus the amount of bottles you killed with your hook every single battle round, or every single battle shock phase. Is it your battle shock phase or every battle shock phase? Your battle shock phase. Okay. So your Soul Render would be very busy trying to keep everybody going because there's so many Namati units, like a minimum of 4. But it is very useful, and you can stack this with one of the enclaves we'll discuss in a bit. Once per phase, you can roll 1 hit, wound, save, run, or charge. Okay, movement phase, reroll a run. Charge phase, reroll the charge dice. Then in the attack phases, sure, you only get 1 reroll total, but that's still 4 rerolls a turn. Or 2 on your opponent's turn, 4 on your turn. Still plenty. Looking at the chapter things, the song is known as Celestial Vindicators. Yeah, the Celestial Vindicators are quite a popular one. The Namati Core is good. Your Soul Render's got his work cut out trying to keep everybody going, but it basically just means your Namati are a bit tougher than they have any right to be for 100 points. I think we need to see how powerful Namati really are relative to Achilleans, and whether they could hold their own without the benefits of a Soul Render. Because only 1 unit can be healed per round. And you can take additional Soul Renders, sure, but I think this will just basically be, if Namati are good, this is good. That's the question, are Namati good relative to its Achilleans? Yeah, if you're not going to Achillean heavy, you use it, because you'll want a Soul Render and you'll be using like a couple of units of each. Sure, use it. But the question is, should you use it over Achilleans? Because the Achillean Core is nice. Demon Prince in the pipeline. Nice. Finally, you have the Phalanx, or the Phalanx, however you prefer to pronounce it. And that is basically a Decurion type thing. So it's a 1 Royal Council. So a King, a Soul Scryer, and a Tiecaster. 2 to 4 Achelian Cores. So minimum 2 Doom Turtles, 4 units of Eel Cavalry, 2 Sharks. And 2 to 4 Namati Cores. So minimum 2 Soul Renders, 4 units of Thralls, 4 units of Reavers. However, this gains the ability Total Fury of the Storm. If you have the Idoneth Allegiance and include this battalion, once per battle at the start of a battle round, you can decide to use High Tide instead of using the corresponding round. So basically you can get a second High Tide in the game. So you get a second round where you're always striking first. So if you rush face, then you can get 2 rounds of always striking first. Or if you would rather have a second round where you don't need to fall back and want to stay in, you can do that. 4 Wound Light Cav is another thing outside this faction and Beast Claw. That's true. Chaos Knights only have 3. Paladors have 5. Paladors have 5. Paladors have 5. So at least the 3k points. Yeah, I'd have to go and do the maths on it. I'm not going to do that now because it'll take ages. But you can. A not well used Storm Host. Well, it depends on what colours you like. Like, what colours appeal to you? What sort of colours do you want for your army? I just know that the Hammers of Sigmar, the Knights Excelsior, and the Celestial Vindicators are quite common. Oh, and the Phalanx itself costs you 120 points to take on top of the, let's see, 200, 400, 540 points you'll have paid in battalion costs, and then the unit costs. It's very expensive, very, very fast. The final battalion you're allowed to take is actually an allied battalion, which is called the Alliance of Wood and Sea. So this is a Isharan Tidecaster, so a wizard. 2 units of would you call Paladors light? 4+ save, if you're counting 4+ save cavalry, that is very, very fast as light for the Achelians, then yes you are. They're 5 wound, 4 up save, very fast cavalry. They've just got an extra wound on the Achelians, that's all. And some extra abilities, but they cost way, way more. Like, it's 50% more, I think, per 3. So 50% more per 3, which means, yeah, 67. What is it per model? 67? Yeah, 67 versus 53. Okay. So the Alliance of Wood and Sea is 1 Tidecaster, 2 units of Eels, 1 unit of Thralls, 1 unit of Reavers, 1 unit of Sharks, 1 Branch Witch, which is the foot-mounted Sylvaneth hero, 2 units of Dryads, and a Tree Lord Ancient. And basically what happens is the Sylvaneth gain the Tides of Death ability. So on turn 1 they get the cover bonus, turn 2 they're able to... Uh-oh... Okay, I think we're okay. I'm not sure what happened there. Technical difficulties. Uh-oh. Not this again. Don't do this to me. Okay, so I've rebooted my Wi-Fi connection just to make sure it's not that. And I'm just going to hope and pray that it doesn't just have random frame drops all the time. So... Okay, we seem to just be getting a lot of random frame drops. A lot of random frame drops. Okay. This is annoying. This is extremely annoying. And I'm just hoping it's going to hold, but I don't trust it. So light cavalry to me means it's not taxed on points, and its main use is crushing heroes or artillery under hoof and finishing up wounded targets. That's not a bad description, I suppose. But then Paladors aren't really heavy cavalry because they're nowhere near Dracoths. They just cost loads more. It's not my router. I'm in a hall of residence. It's not my router. We seem to be holding though. So I'm going to hope it was just the fact I fell out of the Wi-Fi or something. So hopefully we're back. Where did I get to before it all started going to crap? Where did I get to? I was just in the middle of discussing the alliance of Wood and Sea. I'm just saying that they basically gain all the Tides of Death abilities, the Sylvaneth element. And as the person in the chat says, I'm kind of tempted to make it for fun for myself. One day, if one of my friends ever gets Sylvaneth, I'd be very tempted to say, do you mind if I borrow you Sylvaneth for a game? Mid-tier cavalry. Yeah. I generally break cavalry down to just light and heavy. I don't think of like mid-tier cavalry, but yeah, fair point. Got the units, not the buff. Okay. So yeah, Tydecaster, 2 Eels, 1 Thralls, 1 Reavers, 1 Sharks, 1 Branch Witch, 2 Dryads, 1 Tree Lord Ancient, and they gain the ability Tides of Death on the Idoneth. Oh, sorry, on the Sylvaneth. Gain Tides of Death. So on turn 1, your Idoneth and your Sylvaneth will get cover, and then re-rolling their charges on turn 2, being able to run an act on turn 2, always striking first turn 3, retreat an act turn 4, and then repeat. And it costs 140 points on top of the cost of the units. So it's slightly more expensive, but it is still pretty useful. I'm going to be doing that because my friend does. Oh, lucky you. I think I've got a friend who's like kind of tempted by Sylvaneth or by Caradron, but I don't think they're ever going to buy in. Bloody Dawn. Oh, I don't know those. I'm going to get my Stormcast Battletome and I'm going to have a look at them now, actually, because you've piqued my interest, good sir. You've piqued my interest. Ow, pins and needles. Oh, that's bad, pins and needles. Bloody Dawn. I don't remember that name. Heraldry. Oh, the Bloody Dawn. Ah. So right. So, what colour is that? Black? No, it's not Sons of Mal, it's black. Oh, it's a really, really deep turquoise. Red trim. Oh. Deep turquoise with silver metal and red trim. Oh. That's fun. I like. Not one I'd go for personally, but I like that. That's cool. Boop. Pins and needles. Worst thing. Ah, right. I walk away from my screen for 10 seconds, I come back, it tells me I've got no output. Damn thing. And Stomp, give me -1 to hit, mass debuff list. Yeah, maybe. Wait in the big tree. Yeah. Knights of Azir. Which ones are they? Oh, the deep navy blue. Yeah, I know the ones. Yeah. Yeah, I'd have been kind of, if I didn't look at the black armor so much, I'd have been tempted by those, but I don't know, it seems a bit too much for me. No, not your fault at all. Just annoying. Just really, really annoying, and I don't know what's causing it. So yes, sorry about that. Oh, come on, stop giving me random frame drops. Stop it with the random frame drops. Yeah, I'd agree. Bloody Dawn is probably better than Knights of Azir. If I had to pick between the two, that's the one I'd pick. Either or, whichever takes your fancy, really, but yeah. Though, speaking of colour schemes, I need to pick my Idoneth army. Since, yes, I've made my mind up, I'm going Idoneth, not Daughters of Cain. Don't like Marathi enough. Seen the rules now, read the law now, made my mind up, going Idoneth. So yeah, I've got 6 sets of Enclave rules to go over, and I want to go over their colour schemes as well, and then you guys can help me pick which army I should go with. Not quite Fish Elves. I don't want to rule out getting more Daughters of Cain. I don't. But I know my next project is Idoneth. I might do a semester at uni where I go in on Idoneth and I like get an Achillean King, I get a Doom Turtle, I get everything I want. And then I have a semester of Daughters of Cain. Or what I might do is do Idoneth for like six months until March, and then just do a little bit of time at the end on Daughters of Cain, maybe just get Marathi and some Kinnerai. I just like do a little bit more, but Idoneth are going to be my focus. Painting them teal cloth weapons. Teal cloth weapons are going to be bone, and armor will be grey knight silver. They have a nice blue effect. Okay, that's interesting because you've got blue, teal, red, midnight blue, bone armor, and Briandar is sort of a silvery colour, isn't it? I never know which bit to look at when I'm comparing these. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, Briandar is sort of like silver with, yeah, it's silver with sort of greenish tint, and then blue cloth. Nautilar's bonish with blue cloth, actual like light blue. Morphan is like midnight blue with purple. The other restriction is Marathi will not go into alliances points. Well, I have a spare, well, I have 2 spare options for that. I have the Cauldron of Blood, I'll have a Blood Rat Reducer, and I have a Hag Queen, so that won't be a problem. Yeah, it will be a white undercoat. The only one that doesn't take a white undercoat is Morphan, who take a black undercoat. The rest of them take white undercoats. Ironrock is silver and blue. Domhain is sort of turquoise and red. And Fuegan, or Fuethan, sorry, is red and blue. Black and blue. Okay, yeah, black and blue on the sharp makes sense. Yeah. Anyway, let's do the Enclave abilities, and then I'll whittle down to my favourites, and then we'll choose on colour scheme between them. So the first one is Iron Rock. They are ridiculous. He was thinking dark blue. Cool. So Iron Rock has +1 to casting and dispel rolls for its wizards. Straight up, +1 to cast for your entire army of wizards. So you take Tidecasters, you take an aspect of the sea, you go nuts. That's really, really good. Seems like the better choice as per the ones in the book. I'm going off the book just because I kind of, yeah. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Stop it. Please, stop it. Random frame drops. Why am I getting random frame drops? That shouldn't be happening. That should not be happening. I should not be getting random frame drops. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a hard reboot for the stream. So I'm going to turn it off, turn it on again, and hope that we stop getting these stupid bloody frame drops, because it's driving me insane. Okay, seems to be relatively solid for now. Haven't dropped anything yet. I don't think I knocked anything, really. Like, I can't really think I have done, but I'm just glad I got the review section done. I got through the main review and now it's into random discussion and a few extra things in this second half where it's been a bit more glitchy. So I'm just kind of glad I've done the main legwork already. So as I was saying before the technology so rudely interrupted me, the Iron Rock Wizards get +1 to cast and dispel, which is really, really good. Their Royal Council can have can have up to 2 Tidecasters and Soul Scryers, so you can actually keep 1 Soul Scryer and Tidecaster with your king, and then the other 2 go off, other one of each go off and do their own thing, so you can have 1 outflanking. You can generally just do more stuff, have another wizard around without having to take out of the battalion. So, not bad, although I'm not sure about the Royal Council anyway, so I don't know. And then you must give them the command trait, Emissary of the Deep Waters, which means that allies get Tides of Death. Allies get Tides of Death. So all your allies that you take will have the Tides of Death ability regardless of whatever faction they're from, whether they're Stormcast, Daughters of Cain or whatever. Which is nice. Just because it means that, I don't know, you just don't have to think about it so much because you know your entire army's doing it. I'm just hoping everything's back working now. Just hoping / praying everything's back to working now. Flipping hell. Yeah, you wouldn't really use them, I think, unless you were taking allies. But if you are taking allies, then it's ridiculous. And it's still good, even if you aren't taking allies. Sure, it's not the greatest for the Sea Wood Alliance, because they have Tides of Death anyway. But then again, it's still good. The Iron Rock colour scheme, in case people are keeping track and are thinking, oh, I want to do that one myself, is silver armor with blue sort of robes, and then they're underneath like pants, trousers, cloth is generally done in sort of, what is it? It's done in Incubi Darkness, so it's sort of like just a dark colour. I don't exactly know what colour it is. I think it's just like a dark blue. So generally it's just bluish. So silver armor and various shades of blue. And it's a good way to get Stormcast buffs. Yeah, it would be good for getting your Stormcast cavalry into the right place and also getting them out again. And going first in a round of combat for Stormcast would be very, very useful. So Iron Rack is one I could definitely see myself using. But I don't know. I like the colour scheme, but it's not my favourite. It's like silver armor with blue trim. Meh. What do you think the Terminus Decree is? Oof. Just go way off topic. Terminus Decree, I think, is probably the Golden Throne's off switch. but I have no true proof to back that up aside from what we all know of the Terminus Decree. I'd like to think it's the Golden Throne's failsafe, but I wouldn't want to say with any certainty. So the second enclave we have is Domhain. These guys have got really turquoise armor. So they are pretty good if you're running mainly Akhelians. But here we go. In your combat phase, you reroll hit rolls for Akhelians and Namati who charged this turn. So that's good. Reroll hit rolls of 1 for any charging Akhelians and Namati in your army. Very nice. Given the other units not affected by that will be the Isharan and the Eidolons. That's just generally a nice bonus to have, and it's something that the Daughters of Cain have on all the time from turn 3 thanks to their fanatical faith. So it's pretty nice. It's not quite as good as the Daughters of Cain version, but it's still nice. And then finally, the secondary thing, Quester of the Depths. You can reroll wound rolls for Akhelians targeting monsters. So that's your eels, your sharks, your leviathans, your doom turtles, and your kings can reroll wounds when attacking monsters. And that's just not in melee, so if you're shooting, Domhain, not Samhain, not Samhain, Domhain. Dom. Dom as in Dick and Dom. Nobody who's not British will get that joke. Or reference. I suppose it's a reference, not a joke. And the Akhelian Corps can have 6 units of Akhelian Guard instead of just 4. So as I say, you're encouraged to take more Akhelians, but it will only really be good against monster heavy armies. So you'll be wanting to take this against Chaos, probably will always be bringing monsters. Yeah. Chaos will, Destruction will often have them. Death, hit and miss. Order, very hit and miss. But still good. They have a very turquoisey armor scheme with... it's an M, not an N. I'll show it to people. Spelled like that. Domhain. Yeah, they've got good room rolls anyway, but re-rolling against monsters is always nice because monsters are notoriously tough to take down. So their armor is starting from grey, then washed with Coelia green shade and built up with sort of greens and greys, so sort of like whitey cream, greenish white. Then they've got red cloaks, and their under trousers, I suppose, are black. So it's a pretty nice, it's just a nice one. So I think I'll be taking. I wouldn't rush to that, although I think it is a good one. There's other things you can do. The next one is probably my least favourite. That's fine. The next one is Fuetan, and my least favourite, or Futhan, I don't know how you pronounce this one. No rules against Behemoths. Behemoth is a 40k word. Behemoth is the 40k word for monster. No, it isn't. No, Behemoth is a Sigmar word. Monster is the keyword. Behemoth, I don't know. It says specifically monster. I've never seen Behemoth be a keyword, or if I have, it's only ever been on monster. I know there is a difference, but what's the difference? Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. Fuetan, you can re-roll hit rolls of 1 for Fuetan units affected by Rising Tide on the there was a battlefield roll. Yeah, it's not a keyword. So yeah, on turn 2, these guys get re-rolls of hit rolls of 1, and when they should be affected by Descending Tide or Lowering Tide, the retreat and do things, they instead get the run and do things trait. So you don't get the option to retreat and whack stuff, you have to run again. So, I don't know, I don't like Fuetan at all. Their mounts reroll 1s to wound, and they can have 6 Akhelian cores in a phalanx if you want to do that. Personally, I don't like them. I mean, I should like them because red armor, but I don't like them at all. They're my least favourite. No, it's fine. It's one of those things. It's a bit of a confusing one. I always get it. I sometimes get it mixed up. I don't even think about it. I just think Behemoth and Monster are exactly the same thing. I don't even distinguish. Right. So after Fuetan, we have Morfan, and these guys are one of my favourites. These guys are really fun. So these guys, their soul renders add 3 to the number of models resurrected. So they resurrect D3 plus 3 plus the number they killed, or if they're in the Animality Core, 6 plus the number they killed per round, which is really good. I do like the colour scheme of Fuetan Alame. It's not my favourite, but I do quite like it. But that's red, but the rules suck. So, no. Also, they're very, like, isolationist. They live in Akshi. Like, nah, not for me. I just don't like them at all. And the Tidecasters of Morfan know a special spell. Freezing something. So, instead of taking one of the 6 spells from the Lore of the Tides, or Lore of Depths, or whatever it's called, what they get instead is a special spell which says, this spell has a casting value of 6. In case of success, choose an enemy unit visible to the sorcerer within 12 inches. Until your next hero phase, this unit can only move 1 inch to engage, and all aptitudes and abilities which should improve its movement, its engagement movement, are ignored. Freezing Mist. What's the word? Could somebody get the English version for me? Because I think it means you can only pile in 1 inch and cannot be buffed in any way. Because if so, that's an utterly garbage spell in many cases. It's great for Namati. It is great for Namati. And the colour scheme. Oh, the colour scheme of Morfan. It is midnight blue armour. Like, deep midnight blue is stunning. Like, just, I don't know how well this is going to show up, but just look at that. Is that not the coolest colour scheme you ever did see? It's early pile-ins. Just like, look, I can't do this justice by showing you on a screen. The colour scheme for Morfan is truly amazing. I love it. I think it is a fantastic colour scheme. Just this deep midnight blue armour that like just sort of fit with the fact they come from Shaiish. These are the elves of Shaiish. Of course they have dark armour and are they're like me. They suit me down to the ground because they're pragmatic. They're focused, but they're pragmatic. They think quietly. They're just, oh, damn it. They suit me so much. But, there's more, and I think there might even be a better one. This is the problem I've got right now. Option 5, Nautilar. Or Nautilar, I don't know. Talented Defenders. You can re-roll failed hit rolls for Nautilar units on the turn they get charged. So you just sit there, get charged, and re-roll to hit. Have fun charging me, mother trucker. You're not going to have any fun at all. Ha! On top of that, they get 2 Leviatons in their Achelian core, meaning they get 2 auras of +1 save, which means that when they get charged, not only are they re-rolling hits, they've also got +1 save on more units. And, as if that wasn't enough, they have a spell for their Tidecasters, which is called Protective Barrier instead of one of the special spells. And this is a 4 to cast to give a friendly unit visible to the sorcerer within 12 inches that takes 1 point off of the rend of an attack. So not only, if you're near your 2 Leviathans, are you getting +1 save, you're also giving a unit -1 rend to attacks coming at it. And you'll be rolling to hit against units that charge you. And the colour scheme of Nautilar. I think the best place for me to show you this is actually not the artwork. There was a really good piece of artwork, or just like, right, here we go. This should do it. They've got bone white armour and blue trim. Let me just show you the artwork. Bone white armour. That would be the most difficult painting challenge I've ever done. To try and paint white or cream and make it look good. But, oh my god. This would be gorgeous. And it would suit my army so well. Like, come on, I can take it. Whack! You charge me, I'm going to hit you really hard in the face. And when you do that, oh, you come to me now. Here are my Stormcast right behind you. Get stuffed, mother trucker. I love Nautilar, but I also love Morphan. I don't know what to do. Finally, you have Briondar. So that's the favourite enclave of the writers. Where are Nautilar from, by the way? Oh, which one's they? Which one's that? Are they the... Those the ones that live on the giant turtle. Hang on. Give me a second. I just need to double check which one lives on the back of the giant turtle. That's like, that basically is the Discworld army. Which is the army of Discworld? Is it you? Yeah, it's them that live on Discworld. Yeah. Nautilar also live on Discworld. What more do you want from me? You get more Doom Turtles in Nautilar. You get more... you don't get any extra units in Morphan, but you are encouraged to take more Namati. So Namati heavy armies would go with Morphan, whilst Nautilar armies would go with more Akelian. Finally, you have Briondar, who basically ignore terrain, even if they can't fly, though they cannot ignore enemy models. So basically, they can just pass through terrain as if it's not there, even their infantry. Sorry. Wait, why is it my fault? You picked your colour scheme. It's not my fault unless I've changed your mind to go with Nautilar all of a sudden. And Briondar also get better Soul Scry, so you can put 3 units in reserve with them and they can arrive within 18 instead of 12. And then Namati Corps can have up to 6 Reaver units instead of 4. Paint scheme wise, they have, what have they got? Sort of a turquoisey, turquoisey silver, like greenish silver armour with blue trousers and green robes. So, which I would brain knowledge as more. But this is the thing, you're encouraged to take more in Nautilar. In Morphan, you wouldn't benefit so much from the Leviathan bonus because you're also getting more defensive bonuses playing Nautilar. So that's why I said it that way. So they're the 6 factions: Nautilar, Briondar, Morphan, Fuetan, Ironrack, and Domhain. And I'm of the mindset of I want either Ironrack to benefit my Stormcast, I want Morphan because bloody hell that colour scheme. Thanks, by the way, just happy converting me to happiness on Nautilar. But Morphan! You have that midnight blue that is just... it's gorgeous. Morphan's blue, the midnight blue, having done midnight blue with my Tau, is just utterly gorgeous done right. Like, done right, midnight blue for Morphan could be stunning. And the ability to just have an army where you can resurrect 6 models a turn. Probably. D3 plus 3 models plus the amount of models you're killing per turn per soul render. More if you're in battalions. It's just really nasty. Sure, their spell is kind of crap, but you don't... But you can work around it. Just use the -1 to hit spell that you get for free. I think on paint scheme alone, I'd go Morphan. That's how much I like that midnight blue. That midnight blue, deep black blue colour scheme. I love it. But ability-wise, Nautilar is my favourite by a mile. Nautilar's got my favourite abilities, apart from Iron Rack is kind of like, it's nice to have because of the allies thing, and lots of magic. But the abilities of Nautilar are so good, and the colour scheme of Morphan is so good. Iron Rack is sort of a nice to have, nothing more. Oh, not again. Not again, no. No, 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 no. No. Ugh. Please don't. Don't screw with me, software. I'm not in the mood to be screwed with. You're not even using that much of the CPU. I had an output drop on my end, and I dropped a bunch of frames, so I thought the screen was just gonna go to crap again, like, and I had to restart it. I was just panicking because I don't want this. I'm fed up with this software screwing with me. I mean, it seems like it's all right now, but it was just having a go at screwing with me, and I'm not in the mood for it to be screwed with. Maybe it didn't really come through on people's ends. It was just on mine. But good to know. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask for a straw poll, although I do want to get people's opinions. So, do I take the bone armour of Nautilar, who have all the defensive abilities? Do I take the ally benefiting sort of blues and silvers of Ironrack, who also do really well with magic? Or do I look at Morphan, go for colour scheme, and also rely on heavy Namati like restoration to keep my infantry going, whilst my Achelians are sort of pseudo second fiddle? Let me know what you think. Nautilar, Ironrack, or Morphan? So I suppose I'm just going to leave that up for a minute or two whilst people make their minds up, or just shout at me until I come up with an answer, until they just give me a consensus. Yeah, Domhain, I don't know. They're nice, but I don't think I'd use them. Fuethan I actually do hate. And Priamdar is just not my thing. Nautilar would use the Morphan paint scheme. Morphan. Nautilar for playstyle. Thing is, the thing is with the whole use this paint scheme and this ability, I'm too narratively driven for that. Like, I would want the army to look and play the same. Like, I want the look of the army to match the playstyle, the play of the armies. I wouldn't want one thing that looks like Morphan but plays like Nautilar. That's not my way of doing things. So it will be, I'll play Morphan as Morphan, or I'll play Nautilar as Nautilar. Skull white blue trim. Okay, that's another Nautilar. So that's... Okay, so Nautilar's 3-1. Yeah, like, it's going to be a bit more of a challenge. 4-1 even. It's going to be more of a challenge to do the Nautilar paint scheme, because I've never on white before as a colour scheme, even if this is very off-white bone. But, alright, Nautilar it is. So that's going to be white armour, blue or bone cream armour with a blue trim. But then I just need to decide what I'm going to do for my deep mares, my eels, my sharks. Just basically what I want my cavalry to look like. Gold with gold trim. This is not the Stormcast. Something that complements the Vanguard style. Oh. The Vanguard style is all about maneuverability. So what notes? But if I was wanting it for just my allies, I'd want to play Ion Rock to give them the abilities of the Idoneth, which would be really nice. Nautilar will fit in some ways in that they will be a better anvil for the Stormcast to flank onto and crash into and harry, whereas Morfan will just never die. It'll just be if I take a couple of soul renders, I'll just be resurrecting my Namati constantly, and just being able to use them to just chip and chip and chip and keep people pinned in place whilst the Stormcast can do their work. I think either army will benefit the Stormcast in either configuration. Okay, Nautilar seems to have won, so I'm happy to go with that. I'll need to find a way to tie everything together. The red spot colour will work. The sort of red spot colour will... That's Dom Hind, you twonk. Yeah, they need to be able to play solo, and I think... I don't know. I'll probably do their armour a darker, their cloth a darker blue than that. Just by personal preference, really. What's the tissue done? Stacked on scale. Oh, this has got the greenish tint on the skin. Okay, that's interesting. It's a way of doing it. Stardrake Nightmares. I don't know about getting a Stardrake. That would be the last thing I do. My Stormcast just to round them off is get a Stardrake, but I'm not going to be doing that this semester. I won't be doing that till I get home, that's for sure. I just never would get it home. So yeah, what do I want to do with these mounts then? Carapace options. Yeah, there's plenty of options in here, and I'll wing it as I go. Okay. These guys are going to be interesting. Interesting. I don't always consider dumb, but would you be willing to hear the one I just finished after the last 5 weeks? Yeah, sure, go for it. Shoot, I'm always intrigued to see what people are doing. Because I'm just going to get, otherwise I could easily just get distracted and wrap up. Is that armor colour more of a bone or a parchment colour? I don't know, to me it's more of a bone-ish colour. Although you could argue parchment in many ways. I mean, the more I look at it, I just know I like it. And it's sort of an off-white is sort of the only way I can describe it. It's just off-white. Because, I mean, it starts with Pallid Witch Flesh, then it's Seraphim Sepia, then Pallid Witch Flesh and White Scar to finish. So, it's a sepia washed white. basically. Looking for a dark turquoise. I wouldn't know where to start with that one. I'm not really a painting expert, although there's a few turquoises in here, so there's one here that's quite bright. And there's like a deep turquoise. Not really on here, no. Not really sure how I can help you with that one. Not one I know very well. Idoneth. Xandri dust, sepia, shabty bone, witch flesh. That would work. That's an alternative. The problem is I don't really own any white paints and such. So I'll just need to have a think about that when I go back to Games Workshop and pick up the paints for next semester, as to what exactly I want to use and how I want to use it. Army painter paints. I'm not sure what you mean, I'm afraid. Hopefully someone in the chat can help with that, because I'm next to useless at painting, or the painting advice anyway. I do what I can with my army, but it's hardly going to be winning any golden demons or anything. What are you going to get first? Well, this is an army that revolves around defense, so I'll need to either immediately get an Achillean King in order to unlock Eel Cavalry as troops, or I'll need to get Namati Reavers as my Namati Thralls as my battle line straight off. I don't want to have an army with no Namati in it at all, because I do want an actual line, so I'll probably get Namati and a Soul Render. So a couple of units of Namati, maybe one of each type, at a Soul Render as a like basic. Then work up, get one unit of Ishleyan Guard, an Alapex, a unit of Morsar Guard, a Leviathan, and then an Achillean King to finish. That's sort of a basic building block, because then I'll have 4 units of battle line, a couple of heavy hitters, and I want some magic, I think. So probably a Tidecaster to get me the defensive spell, and then an Aspect of the Sea Eidolon as sort of the grand finisher. Plus Griff things will need a cool colour scheme. If you're referring to the Griff Hounds and the Griff Charges, I've generally managed by basically using no paints on them at all. Fate Master Leader, Gaunt Summoner, Lord of Chaos, Chaos Sorcerer Lord, 2 War Shrines, 4 units of 18 Warriors of Chaos, and a Chaos Spawn. Ooh. Sorry. Forgot what Coke did sometimes. Like, I don't know how powerful that is. Like, obviously it's a mix of Chaos units. Primarily just actual Warriors of Chaos, but Fate Master sounds like Gaunt Summoners I know are ever chosen. I don't know how good that's going to be, but it's an interesting build. Pretty defensive, actually. A really defensive build. Really defensive build. Between the gaze of the Sorcerer Lord and all that sort of thing. I've not faced the Chaos Spawn, so I couldn't tell you. Thursday I was looking forward to them. I'm glad. I'm really glad that Idoneth have really invigorated people. The Daughters of Cain were a great start to get people like really interested in AOS again, and the Idoneth have just rammed that point home and really inspired people. What we need now is as interesting a destruction faction and as interesting a death faction as we can to try and keep up with the Idoneth and get people playing those factions as well. Purple armor, white cloak, green lining. Oh, that's interesting. I can sort of envision that. That's interesting. It's a very unique paint scheme. Either start these guys or IK. Imperial Knights? No. Or maybe Imperial Knights. We do, my poor wallet. Oh yeah, but like once I've settled on my Idoneth faction, I know I won't be jumping over to chaos or destruction or whatever. I do know that I'm sticking with order. So my sort of basic plan is well, how do I put it? Get Idoneth, get Daughters of Cain, wait for next elf faction. I'm a die-hard elves fan, so I'll be getting elves alongside my Stormcast to sort of tie it all together. Get it for 80 quid. Nice. Imperial Knights. That makes sense. But yeah, I'll just go get the various Elven factions. So I've got a bit of Marathis and I'll expand on that. I'll get a block of Idoneth. I'll probably get some Valyrians or Tyrians linked together with the Stormcast, and then yeah. Plus actually the fact that what's their name? Nautilar live on Discworld, which is just a flying turtle, like a sea turtle. And it's currently in Gur. Yeah, it was in Gyra, and then it went to Gur. But it can move, so I can see why it's how they could find other warriors, and they will work with others after what happened. Shield warriors exclusively Tzeentch Legions in the Fatesworn Battalion. Right. Ouch. Yeah, once I've got the four Elven factions, I don't know what I'll do. That would probably be a nice place to say, okay, that's enough. But huge Empire fan pre-AOS, don't like the Stormcast Eternals at all. Mostly from a models perspective. I don't like the Stormcast paint scheme. I mean, I have like 4,500 points of Stormcast now. So like, here's one of my Vanguard Paladors. And I don't like their basic colour scheme. The gold on gold, so I chose a different colour scheme and I really, really like it. The models I think are actually good. Like, I understand if not everybody likes them, I really like them. They just need something different about their colour scheme to look good, in my opinion. Also, if you're worried about playing the Empire, the army you're looking for is Free Peoples, not Stormcast, different faction. Free Peoples who haven't been done yet, or Free... Are they Free Guild now? Free Peoples, Free Guild, whatever they're called. They're the army you'll be playing if you're playing old school Empire. Shoot, when I'm done with the elves, well, there's Fire Slayers. I like Fire Slayers, they look cool. But then there's also Sylvaneth, and they've got their alliance thing with the Idoneth. I need to expand the Stormcast so I can fit them in with the Daughters of Cain and the Shadowhammer Compact. But then there's Cavalry Overlords. But then again, I'm not a huge fan of the Cavalry Overlords. I could live without the Cavalry Overlords. And then I come back to the Fire Slayers. What if there's another faction of dwarves that gets done, or if the human faction gets redone? Oh, I love and hate this hobby in equal measure. Custodian's colour scheme is horrible. I can imagine it's not fun to paint. I can really imagine. Having done gold armour before with Magnus, I really enjoyed painting Magnus, but I can understand strictly from a painter's perspective, trying to do an entire army like that would have been a nightmare. I can understand. Painting a Brown would be an undertaking. Well, having done it, I can tell you it's actually not that bad. Like once you've done it, it's a really rewarding thing to take on. It's tough, but it is good. And even someone like me who's crap at it, who's crap at painting, can actually make it look half decent. So the Bloody Dawn for me, good. Black Custodian's colour scheme is amazing. Agreed. One Imperial Knight I currently have is silver with gold trim. Interesting. Magnus did nothing wrong. Ding. Anyway, if there's no further Idoneth questions now that we've had the technical difficulties and the review and everything, I'm tempted to call it a night. Just because I've got lectures starting back tomorrow. I've had a week off for Easter. But I have an early start at a lot this week. I've got a lot of early starts, and then my exams are 2 weeks away, so I kind of want to crash, get a decent night's sleep, get some revision in tonight. So if there's no further questions or comments or ideas, then I'm thinking I might wrap this up, because we've gone for the best part of 3 hours now. We've had issues in the third hour. We've had a few technical issues, but generally we've had a good stream. It's been really good to get some opinions in there, and I've settled on the army I'm going to be running now, which is great. So yeah, yeah. What's the big surprise you got from the lore? I didn't realize how much of a bitch Marathi was, but she is horrid, and the fact that Slanesh might be getting free is very interesting. There's more in here. Like because I'm reading it in French. Because I'm reading it in French, some of the things do go over my head, or I just forget them because it's so hard for me to try and retain exactly how it was or find it again. But there's some interesting stuff in here, that's for sure. I agree with the thing about Remlays. That was hilarious. The hobby project won't be starting until at the very least July, but fair enough. Get out of here. Right, and on that bombshell, I'm out of here. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and Xenos of all ages. This has been Tactica Imperialis, and I do hope you have enjoyed this slightly more regimented stream where we've been reviewing the Idoneth Deepkin Battletome. Thank you all for coming out, thank you for giving your opinions, and thank you for your help in selecting the enclave that I will be running in future when I start my Idoneth hobby project at whatever style or look it happens to have. So, thank you very much, and I'll see you all very soon. Make sure to tune in tomorrow, where we will be doing the big FAQ. My thoughts on the big FAQ 2018 will be published live on the channel tomorrow, and we've also got some lore coming up next week, and I'll be back to streaming as and when I get a chance. So, thank you all for watching, guys. It's been a pleasure as always, and I'll see you all again. Good night.